Our story begins with a grim truth, learned in the sterile quiet of a hospital. A disembodied voice whispers a rumor. This hospital is haunted by ghosts. At the nurse's station, staff trade spooky tales of lingering spirits and flickering lights. A young man, Oshima, is reluctantly tasked with a lonely night patrol. Walking the long, empty corridor, he muses that ghosts aren't really that scary. His expression is thoughtful as he continues his rounds through the silent halls. He concludes that living humans are far more frightening than any ghost. His thought is cut short by a startling cry that echoes down the hallway. The ghost is just a long-haired young man, Osamu, laughing at his prank. Back in the room, Oshima asks if Osamu really sought solid proof of ghosts. Osamu eagerly explains his scientific theory for detecting spectral energy with an app. Oshima recalls Osamu's reckless curiosity, like the time he caused a steam explosion. Osamu's playful expression fades as he begins to explain his true motivation. He admits he's just curious about the afterlife, scared of what waits for him. Oshima offers hope of a cure, but Osamu simply touches his long hair. He explains it's a tradition, a wish from his mother he may never fulfill. Oshima insists he'll look good with short hair and promises to wait for him. Osamu offers a small, bittersweet smile, moved by his friend's unwavering support. He then reveals the name of his incurable disease, a fate sealed since childhood. A grim page details the horrific, mysterious nature of this exceedingly rare illness. The bleak scene shifts, brightening into a warm memory from his past. A woman named Ayam shows him an iris flower, explaining it means hope. A young, innocent Osamu declares he will become a doctor and cure her. She smiles warmly, winking as she makes a pinky promise to cure him, too. Their fingers intertwine, a childhood pact symbolizing the hope everyone shared. But he admits he never truly believed in a cure, only wanting his life to have value. His deepest fear was not just dying, but dying as a worthless person. His eye narrows with a dark, desperate resolve to leave some mark on the world. Suddenly, a violent cough seizes him, and he spews a thick, black fluid. He collapses to the floor as his friend, Oshima, screams his name in terror. He knows the disease is back, and with a horrifying certainty, feels this is the end. Staring at a stained hand, the world fades as Oshima's frantic cries grow distant. His hand falls limp to the floor, Oshima's voice the last sound he hears. His spirit drifts into an endless black void, reaching for a single point of light. The darkness is shattered by a brilliant, all-consuming flash of white light. He awakens in a moonlit forest, watching a magnificent deer drink from a stream. From the shadows, an unseen archer draws back a bow, taking silent aim. The deer's wide eye reflects the imminent, unseen danger approaching it. An arrow flies through the air, a deadly missile in the tranquil night. The arrow finds its mark, and the deer leaps into the air with a cry of pain. From the darkness, grotesque, goblin-like creatures with sharp teeth emerge. They swarm the wounded animal, dragging it down into the dark water. As they begin to feast, a confused, disembodied voice asks, "Where am I?" The perspective shifts, revealing his hands are now merely shimmering wisps of light. His reflection is a simple, glowing ghost, and he wonders if he is dead. He remembers everything from his past life: the sickness, his family, the hospital room. He knows these are his memories, yet they feel strangely distant, like a story. He looks upon the feasting monsters, trying to comprehend what they are. He concludes this must be a dream, a hallucination brought on by his final agony. These horrible, Oni-like monsters must be nothing more than his imagination. His ghostly eye observes the brutal scene with a calm, analytical detachment. One of the goblins spots him and brandishes a crude wooden club to attack. The club flies through the air, passing harmlessly through his intangible form. It thwacks loudly against a tree trunk standing directly behind him. He is surprised the attack didn't hit, further cementing his belief it's a dream. The goblin holding the club stares back, confused by its strange, ethereal target. He reassures himself he will wake soon and see his familiar hospital ceiling. But a primal memory erupts from his core, a desperate scream, "I don't want to die." This raw will to live explodes from him as a tangible wave of pure energy. The goblin's eyeball pops from its socket as the invisible force hits it. Its head dissolves into nothingness, vaporized by the sheer power of the blast. The rest of its body is thrown backward into the water, completely annihilated. A dark, smoky tendril snakes from his hand, absorbing the dead creature's essence. He looks at his own hand, stunned and bewildered by what just happened. He realizes he simply raised his hand, and the monster died as he absorbed its energy. He can feel a greater existence inside him growing stronger with this new power. The other goblins, enraged by their companion's death, turn to face him. He raises his hand once more, preparing to unleash his strange new ability. The goblins recoil in fear, sensing the immense, deadly power he now wields. He realizes his attack is slower now, not killing them as quickly. Frustrated, he curses them, desperately wishing for them to just die already. A single tear falls as he thinks, "I don't want to die anymore." His desperate, final plea for them to die fuels a terrifying transformation. His ghostly form solidifies into a human shape, obliterating the remaining monsters. The forest is silent once more, the sky clear above the scene of carnage. He stands over the last of the dissolving goblins, the immediate threat now gone. He questions his new power, wondering if he is now a ghost. The only thing he knows for sure is that this world is not his own. He names his life-draining ability Absorb, feeling it build a new power within him. He looks down at his body, noticing a subtle but distinct change. His hands are different now, more solid and defined than they were before. He decides he needs to find a mirror to see what he has become. He dips his foot into the still water, causing gentle ripples to form. The face that stares back from the water's surface is his own, Takamitsu Osamu. He recognizes his name, but wonders if this is the face he truly wanted. He questions his reality. Is this reincarnation or the afterlife with his memories? He understands now that his core being is the simple desire not to die. That powerful, overwhelming feeling belonged to the boy he used to be. He feels he is truly awake now, conscious in both this world and his memories. Stepping from the water, he fully embraces his new, strange existence. Having been given a second chance, he vows he will not die for nothing again. His expression is one of grim, unshakable resolve as he declares, "I'll live." He clenches his fist, determined to eliminate any who threaten his new life. He ponders his old name, feeling that Takamitsu Osamu no longer fits him. He decides to change it, noting that Osamu can also be read as Shu. He chooses the new surname, Archlight, christening himself Shu Archlight. He reflects that, even with a new name, there is no one here to witness it. A single line of text expresses his lingering uncertainty about who he truly is. He discovers he can levitate, realizing he has become a true ghost. His sharp gaze scans the forest, ready for whatever this new world holds. A silent, dark-haired figure watched from the trees as someone approached below. A young man named Miguel cried out to his friend, shocked by a mountain of goblin corpses. His companion, Freddy, urged caution as he rushed toward the gruesome scene. From the shadows, the observer realized what the two newcomers were. It was his first encounter with humans in this strange, new world. They wondered what power could have caused such carnage in the quiet forest. Fearing a plague, Miguel decided they must burn the bodies immediately. 6. But from the shadows, the true target of their hunt was watching. From his high perch, the spirit Shu continued his silent observation. They began the grim task of pulling a goblin's corpse from the stream. Miguel noted the lack of wounds, suspecting a powerful ghost was responsible. He began to chant, focusing his energy into the palm of his hand. A glowing magic circle formed, giving birth to a swirling, nascent flame. With a surge of power, a bright fireball roared to life in his hand. Shu watched in disbelief, realizing that magic was actually real here. He remembered seeing another student who had struggled with the same spell. That student's magic circle had been weak, quickly fizzling into nothing. The boy had cried in frustration, lacking the imagination his teacher described. His teacher reminded him that magic was a basic skill he should know. He understood that without a clear image, magic would simply dissipate. Back in the present, Freddy offered to take over if Miguel couldn't. Frustrated, Miguel decided to use his more powerful magical equipment instead. A gleaming metal gauntlet suddenly materialized, surprising the hidden Shu. From the gauntlet, he unleashed a powerful torrent of incinerating flames. He boasted of his power, ignoring his friend's warning to be quiet. His celebration was cut short as more goblins suddenly appeared before him. Freddy quickly knelt, activating her own magic gear to summon vines. Thorny vines erupted from the earth, ensnaring the surprised goblin horde. Miguel took the opportunity to cast another fire spell on the trapped monsters. He sighed in relief after the close call, feeling the drain of his power. Freddy explained his area-type equipment was powerful but energy-consuming. He complained about his gear, wishing for a different type of power. With the battle over, they headed home, satisfied with their exam practice. Shu deduced they were students from a town just beyond the forest. He had learned something incredibly important from watching these two humans. The undeniable truth of this reality settled upon him. Magic exists here. He understood the two systems, constructed magic and innate magical equipment. He theorized that the energy he absorbed might be the key to magic. Deciding it was worth a try, he prepared to create a ball of water. He had no spells, only faint memories of wizards from fairy tales. He recalled the three pillars of their magic: imagination, chanting, and phenomena. But his past self held a different kind of knowledge, one of science. He focused his entire being on the simple, fundamental concept of water. He knew the scientific principles that governed its very existence. The only thing Takemitsu Osamu had truly mastered was the pursuit of knowledge. He closed his eyes, calling upon the vast library of his memories. He began reciting scientific formulas instead of mystical incantations. His calculations began to coalesce moisture from the air into tiny droplets. He knew that physics dictated a sphere was its most stable form. He felt the magic circle beginning to form and react on its own. A complex circle appeared, but the water he created was unstable and formless. The shape was not stable. His creation was incomplete and useless. He needed a more concrete image of a perfect water ball. The words of the magic instructor echoed in his mind. Imagination. A memory of a simple souvenir from a festival came to his mind. His mind's eye focused on the perfect image from his past life. It was a water yo-yo, a perfect, shimmering sphere of contained water. With the image clear in his mind, he succeeded, creating a stable sphere. The energy deep within him pushed him, assisting his will to create. He launched the water ball, striking the burning goblin with a splash. He understood that more complex spells would require more complex formulas. This unique power, he realized, would be his greatest trump card. 3 months later, a new group of students entered the forest. They complained about their training location, clearly not taking it seriously. A girl teased her companion, Jazz, asking if he was afraid to proceed. He insisted he wasn't scared, eager to see Alice's new magic. Their leader asked the girl to use magic detection to find a demon. The girl focused her power, casting the magic detection spell. She located a target, a high-ranking humanoid spirit 50 meters away. Believing they were unnoticed, they decided it was time to hunt. The leader smiled, thinking the spirit would be perfect for a trial run. Their attention was first drawn to a different plant-like monster. Alice quickly cast a spell, immobilizing it with thick, tangling ivy. Jazz cheered, impressed that she could activate a Tier 2 spell so easily. He then prepared to finish it off, summoning his own magical dagger. He charged forward, ready to deliver the final blow with his equipment. His eye, reflecting the scene, held a cold, calculating intensity. Suddenly, a massive magic circle materialized, stopping Jazz in his tracks. A wave of force erupted from it, sending him flying through the air. His companions could only cry out his name in alarm as he crashed. The girl was baffled, knowing spirits shouldn't wield such perfect magic. She knew such instant activation was impossible for a mere high-ranking spirit. Then, from the tangled ivy, the source of the power emerged. His face was a mask of cold fury as he extended a hand. The remaining students screamed a desperate, last-second warning to watch out. A brilliant flash of light and energy then engulfed the entire clearing. In the silent aftermath, a pair of broken glasses lay on the ground. All 4 students were unconscious, scattered across the forest floor. Shu found the situation troublesome, having only incapacitated them. This was the first time he had ever been attacked by humans. He noted these students were hostile, unlike the first pair he observed. He considered their intent. Were they truly trying to kill him? He remembered the boy raising his dagger, ready to strike him down. He recalled the boy's face, twisted with rage as he screamed at him. The memory solidified a cold, hard resolve within his spirit. If they intended to kill him, he would have to do the same. A dark tendril of energy snaked from his hand toward the student. He began to drain the boy's life force, absorbing it into himself. He had wondered if taking a human life would feel any different. He felt nothing at all. To him, nothing had changed. A young student is thrown through the air, his body contorted in pain. He lies dying in the forest, his hand outstretched as he whispers Alice's name. His face is pressed against the grass, his life slipping away with each passing second. Looking up at Shu, his eyes wide with terror, he asks a single, silent question. Why? Shu's bare foot makes a soft sound as it touches the ground near the fallen boy. He kneels over the body, his expression a mask of sorrow and grim necessity. In the final moment of life, a single tear forms in the boy's eye. The tear falls as his face withers, his life force completely drained away. From above, Shu knows that a student's death will surely cause an uproar. He feels it is only a matter of time before the bodies are discovered. He resolves to leave this place, knowing he must find another safe haven to stay. The sun sets over the vast, dark forest, drawing a close to the tragic events. Far in the distance, a grand, walled city sits peacefully on a hill. Birds circle a high tower on a large building within the city's walls. Through a window, a man recounts the strange story of a body found at twilight. The townspeople are unsympathetic, calling the dead students weaklings who deserve their fate. A fist slams down on a table in a fit of rage, asking why this happened. An academy headmaster demands to know why his best magician died in a low-level forest. His faculty members argue amongst themselves, shifting blame and making excuses for the failure. The headmaster dismisses the army, deciding to contact the bishop for help instead. A concerned instructor urges for immediate countermeasures to protect the other students. The headmaster declares the forest sealed off until a full investigation is complete. The faculty acknowledges his order, their faces grim with the weight of the situation. An instructor watches them leave, hoping his dark premonition does not come true. The heavy wooden door to the office is closed with a quiet finality. Outside the door, a voice calls out, "Hey!" A group of students huddle together, wondering if they are lucky to be alive. Shu soars through the sky, his expression one of focused determination. He looks out over the vast wilderness, a new, remote territory before him. In the deep woods, a host of small, simple, ghost-like spirits gather. Shu sits peacefully at the base of a tree, surrounded by his new companions. He reflects on moving deep into the forest, sensing the spirits are talking again. His days are now spent absorbing the life of monsters to sustain his magical power. The spirits have swarmed him, recognizing him as a higher being of their own kind. They understand that staying close to the strong is the best way to avoid threats. He wonders about their simple logic as they look upon him with reverence. He accepts his new reality, concluding that he is not human after all. A small spirit buzzes frantically, and Shu asks what it has to say. His ear twitches as he picks up the faint sound of approaching footsteps. The lesser spirits quickly hide among the trees as the sound grows louder. Two academy teachers, a man and a woman, step into the quiet clearing. They confirm their target is here, having tracked his magical signature to this spot. The male teacher puts his fingers to his lips and lets out a sharp whistle. The sound echoes through the trees, a piercing signal that startles Shu. The teachers observe his immense power, concluding he is close to evolving and must be stopped. The male teacher states that it is their duty as teachers to handle the threat. He points forward, commanding his familiar, a bird named Pyre, to go. Shu watches from a tree stump, wary of the intruder's sudden appearance. The small, dark bird lands softly and innocently upon Shu's shoulder. The bird lets out a small chirp as Shu looks at it with confusion. Without warning, the familiar pecks his arm, causing a burst of dark energy. Shu is horrified, realizing his body was taken away in a single instant. He stares in utter disbelief at the empty space where his arm used to be. The teachers watch, commenting that this spirit is more stubborn than they thought. Shu understands that these two possess power far greater than the students he faced. The chilling realization dawns on him. They're going to kill him. Trapped and weakened, he desperately wonders what to do as his options run out. His eyes narrow with cold resolve. He must kill them in one fell swoop. He knows he needs to buy time and create a distraction to complete his spell. A single, simple magic circle appears in the air, catching the female teacher's eye. The male teacher asks what magic she is casting, but she insists it wasn't her. Suddenly, dozens of massive, overlapping magic circles fill the sky above them. The teachers cry out in shock, thinking it must be a forbidden 10th-stage spell. The female teacher declares she has never witnessed such a powerful technique in her life. But upon closer inspection, she realizes the runes are gibberish. It's just a bluff. Hidden from their view, Shu prepares his real spell, whispering, finishing touches. The teachers turn, realizing their fatal mistake just a moment too late. Shu sits in the center of his true magic circle, the trap now sprung. A massive explosion erupts from the forest floor, witnessed by another unit far away. An instructor sees the blast, recognizing it came from the direction of his colleagues. He orders someone to contact the Institute and find a water mage to douse the fire. The aftermath is quiet, with only faint wisps of smoke rising from the blast zone. The ground is scorched and blackened, a testament to the spell's immense power. Shu stands alone in a smoldering crater, surrounded by the skeletons of burnt trees. He reflects that the outcome was different from what he had initially expected. A memory of his childhood experiment with a steam explosion proved to be very useful. He recalls the science, synthesizing picric acid and detonating it with vibrational magic. It is the curiosity of his past self, Takemitsu Osamu, that keeps him alive now. A wave of energy washes over the crater as the teacher's magic is released. The scattered power gathers around him, and his spirit body begins to recover. He senses more magical energy gathering, drawn from the two who were obliterated. Noticing his clean new clothes, he realizes he must have evolved once again. He spots another group of mages approaching in the distance, drawn by the explosion. Knowing he cannot face a large group, he decides to find a new base. He takes to the sky, flying away from the now compromised forest hideout. His expression is thoughtful and determined as he plans his next move. He arrives at the grand capital city of Ramsa, a sprawling medieval metropolis. Guards stand watch at the city gates, demanding permits from a group of mages. Shu realizes his new clothes are the same as his enemies and seeks a place to hide. He finds the perfect location, the city's vast and quiet graveyard on a hill. A member of the Magic Corps warns the last mourners to leave before the undead appear. A mother whispers to her child that scary monsters will eat them if they stay. The soldier from the Magic Corps smiles kindly, a reassuring presence. He tells the little girl to go home safely, promising the Corps will protect her. The girl looks up at him with wide, trusting, and slightly blushing eyes. She offers him flowers, wishing for their god, El Magia, to be pleased with him. From behind a tombstone, Shu watches as the last of the people depart. The soldiers reassure each other that the undead are only low-grade, manageable monsters. Shu sees the graveyard as an ideal place to store up magic from the monsters. He notes the lax security, making it a perfect new base of operations. Shu concludes that if he is careful, he can use this cemetery as his new base. He knows he must grow stronger, or he will die before long. A shadowy figure moves through the tall grass of the graveyard at night. As skeletons rise from their graves, he notes that they are already here. With a predatory grin, he prepares to unleash his life drain upon the undead. The scene shifts to the grand anti-demon church in the capital city. Ramsa, an armored boot, steps with purpose onto the cold stone floor of a corridor. A lone figure walks down a long, arched hallway within the church. Holy Knight Zek Baritsudo tells the bishop that his summons are always a top priority. Zek then asks his superior what he is needed for. The bishop gravely informs him that the divine child princess has delivered a new prophecy. The princess's hands are shown, sparkling with the divine magic of her vision. She foretells a great disaster that is destined to occur in their land. Zek learns that a formal request for an investigation has been issued by Grinia. The bishop recounts the mysterious explosion in the dark forest from months prior. He also reports a sharp, strange drop in monster attacks in Ramsa's cemeteries. The bishop believes his intuition as a man of God that the incidents are connected. He asks Zek, as a friend, to investigate the unusual situation in the cemetery. The bishop is confident that Zek, a powerful rank A mage, can handle any threat. Zek, his expression firm and determined, agrees to accept the mission. A distant, fortified city sits atop a hill under a starry night sky. In the cemetery, a soldier reports the sudden drop in monster numbers is unprecedented. Another soldier has located a spirit accumulating power and will take the lead. Zek thinks that a mere skeleton would be simple to defeat, but this feels different. The bishop's words echo. He believes the series of incidents is by no means unrelated. Zek reassures his men, confident that his sacred spear can wipe out any enemy. A skeleton in the graveyard prepares to launch a fireball from its gaping mouth. Shu recites the principles of his spell, converting kinetic force into a negative number. From a shimmering magic circle, he launches a sphere of dark, cold energy. The spell strikes the skeleton, which begins to freeze solid upon impact. The monster is completely encased in a shell of crackling, magical ice. In an instant, the frozen skeleton shatters into countless tiny pieces. Shu stands over the graveyard, feeling the power of evolving once again. He reflects that since evolving, his magical reserves have increased dramatically. He understands that absorbing magic from others serves to upgrade his own existence. He has acquired a new ability, magic sensing, which he can channel like a spider's web. He realizes this must be how the teachers were able to pinpoint his location. He knows this brilliant power will allow him to locate any hostile approaching entities. Suddenly, his new sense flares, alerting him to an unseen presence. He detects two individuals with serious magic power and decides he should move. His magic sense reveals the glowing forms of the soldiers moving between the graves. He realizes with a jolt that they are following him, knowing his exact location. Turning to face them, he accepts that he could not get away. The soldiers identify him as a nightmare spirit that has evolved into something far more powerful. Zek raises his spear, declaring that no matter what it is, they will take it down. Shu, perched on a tombstone, asks if they want to kill him too. The soldiers are confused, unable to understand the spirit's telepathic communication. Shu wonders why they keep attacking him when he is just trying to survive. His patience gone, he decides to strike first with his newly learned techniques. A soldier sees the shift in his aura and screams a warning to brace themselves. Shu activates his slashing sky domain, a massive magic circle covering the ground. The soldiers are caught by surprise as one of their own is instantly bisected. Another soldier falls, sliced cleanly in two by the invisible attack. The upper torsos of the men collapse to the ground in a gruesome display. Shu notes that only one is left, confirming the leader is different from the others. He explains that this is a magical art he mastered during his time here. He visualizes how a target's magical atoms normally nullify direct attacks. His spell first absorbs that power, then severs the target's molecular bonds. He deduces the man survived because his magic power was too great to absorb. Zek stands in shock amidst the bodies of his men, asking what just happened. He cannot comprehend how a mere spirit could kill so many soldiers so quickly. He thinks of his men, knowing the soldiers he trained should not have been defeated. Looking at their fallen forms, he struggles to understand why they are on the ground. His shock and grief twist into a primal scream of pure, unadulterated rage. He raises his spear, condemning Shu as a demon and an enemy of all mankind. A volley of glowing, holy spears materializes in the air around the furious knight. He declares that he, Holy Knight Zek Barat, will have his revenge. Shu calmly analyzes the attack, noting the powerful magic imbued in the weapon. He knows it is a true magic weapon and that he cannot afford any chances. The volley of holy spears begins its deadly descent toward him. Zek vows to take the fight directly to the demon. Shu focuses his mind, knowing the complex formula requires his complete concentration. He raises his arms, projecting a large, shimmering magic circle to defend himself. One of the powerful spears manages to break through his defense, piercing his shoulder. Gritting his teeth through the pain, he fully activates his accelerated magic circle. The shimmering barrier successfully deflects the rest of the deadly volley. One of the deflected spears glints as it halts its momentum in mid-air. The spear pivots with impossible speed, now rocketing back toward its owner. Zek looks up in stunned confusion as his own weapon flies at him. The holy spear impales him directly through his forehead with lethal force. His eyes widen in disbelief as he asks how it was possible. He collapses to the ground as the other spears rain down harmlessly around him. The chaotic energy of the battle settles in the silent graveyard. Shu approaches the corpse, noting the vast amount of magic Zek possessed. He admits to the dead knight that in a contest of pure power, he would have lost. He explains that he used acceleration magic to manipulate the vectors of the attack. The complex rotation formula required immense focus, but the gamble paid off. Wounded, he knows he must now absorb the knight's life to regain his magic. A torrent of dark energy flows from his hand, draining the life from Zek's body. The influx of power triggers another evolution, and Shu's form becomes more defined. The sheer amount of magic from the Holy Knights fuels his most profound change yet. He feels a strange sensation as his ethereal feet begin to solidify. He finds the nerve-wracking feeling of physicality strange for a being without a body. He decides he must retreat deep into a forest where no one will ever find him. At Zek's funeral, a guard grimly advises the bishop not to look upon his friend's face. The bishop learns the cause of death is identical to the dark forest incident. He bows his head in sorrow, kneeling beside the bier of his fallen friend. A prayer is said in the church for the souls of Zek and his brave soldiers. The bishop laments, not taking the prophecy more seriously, knowing his regret is useless now. His grief hardens into a cold, burning hatred for the unknown plague that killed them. In a grand cathedral, the bishop stood before Zek's body, swearing vengeance. Far away, monsters in a wild forest lived a primitive, brutal life. A new chapter was beginning in the Elder of Forest monster village. The goblin society was a chaotic mess of constant, petty arguments. Their disputes were loud and disorganized, a daily part of their lives. Then, a powerful figure appeared, commanding their immediate, silent attention. The monsters bowed low, recognizing a new and absolute authority. An elder goblin stepped forward, welcoming his master, Mr. Shu, back. He reported that disobedient goblins had ventured out and been sacrificed. Shu calmly replied that what was done, and to warn others. The elder goblin understood. His master's orders must always be followed. Shu had been hunting the forest monsters to sustain his own power. He had previously defeated the fearsome Goblin King, the former ruler. The powerful high-rank pig demon had also fallen before his might. By defeating them, their subordinates accepted him as their new master. The monsters explained that their entire society is built upon strength. He mused on the simple, brutal nature of these low-level creatures. Seeing no disadvantage, he accepted their offer and became their leader. He looked over his new village, finding a surprising sense of peace. He hoped this quiet, peaceful existence could continue undisturbed. But a sudden, powerful surge of energy shattered the forest calm. His senses flared, his eyes snapping open as he detected a presence. He looked out into the dense woods, wondering what it could be. He could feel a fairly large magical power approaching him. A young woman crashed through the undergrowth, gasping for breath. She fled desperately, her terror palpable as she ran through the trees. Her flight was frantic, her legs burning as she pushed onward. She glanced over her shoulder, knowing her pursuer was closing in. A monstrous werewolf lunged from the shadows, its claws extended. The girl's eyes widened in sheer, unadulterated horror. The beast grinned, its fanged maw stretched in a cruel, sadistic leer. She tried to cast enhancement magic, frustrated by its persistence. A glowing magic circle began to form between her hands. But it fizzled into nothing, and she cried out, wondering why. The werewolf loomed over her as she reconsidered her situation. Its massive, sharp claws plunged deep into her chest. She was thrown backward, a mortal wound gaping in her torso. The beast watched her, its whiskers twitching with anticipation. It waited patiently, knowing what was about to happen next. She lay on the ground, gasping in agony from the terrible wound. Then, sparks of light appeared as the injury began to seal itself. Her flesh knitted back together, leaving her completely healed. The werewolf looked on, its cruel plan unfolding perfectly. A sadistic, horrifying grin spread across its monstrous face. Her desperate screams of "Stop, and it hurts," echoed in the clearing. "No, stop," she pleaded, her face a mask of pure agony. The monster ignored her cries, continuing its brutal, unending assault. It knew her wounds would heal, allowing it to enjoy her pain. It sank its fangs into her shoulder, prolonging her torment. A single tear of utter despair traced a path down her cheek. Beaten and broken, she whispered a final, desperate plea for help. Her voice was barely audible, a hopeless request for someone to save her. From the shadows of the canopy, Shu watched the scene unfold. He found the monster's sadistic display to be in very bad taste. He considered simply killing the intelligent creature for its magic. But he knew it would become a threat to his village if left alive. The girl's face was a portrait of suffering, despair, and hopelessness. He floated down, appearing silently between the girl and the beast. His gaze was cold, analytical, yet held a flicker of empathy. She looked up, her eyes meeting those of her mysterious savior. He was suddenly thrown back into the memory of his past life. The image of his own helplessness in a hospital bed was overwhelming. He remembered his sister promising that she would not let him die. His father had told him not to worry about the hospital fees. His mother had said she was happy to have given birth to him. He remembered having a devoted and warm, loving family. But despite all their love, his life had been one of suffering. All he had ever truly wanted, deep down, was just to live. The girl was confused by this sudden, unexpected intervention. Shu delivered a single, devastatingly powerful blow to the monster. The force of the impact was immense, its eye popping from its socket. She watched, stunned into silence by the sudden, brutal violence. He looked down at the creature he had just dispatched. He stood over its corpse, his long, dark hair flowing around him. She sat up, her body still weak and trembling from the ordeal. He turned to face her, his expression unreadable and distant. She asked who he was and why he had decided to help her. He told her plainly that he had not saved her. He had only killed the beast for his own purposes. He told her to go back home, as it would no longer harm her. She cried out, her voice filled with desperation, pleading for him to wait. The sky above the vast, silent forest stretched on endlessly. She introduced herself as Iris, and he reluctantly gave his name as Shu. She explained she was a school dropout, sent to collect herbs for a test. She had gotten lost deep in the forest and was chased by werewolves. She was embarrassed that she couldn't get home on her own. She noted that she did not seem like a dropout to him at all. She explained it was because she was not good at manipulating magic. A mage who can't use magic, she said, has absolutely no value. She listened to her story, his expression serious and thoughtful. She explained that her extended type magic had no offensive ability. Her magical outfit was an immortal ability that granted regeneration. The power of immortality was another thing he did not understand. He realized he needed to learn more about humans to survive. The night sky was filled with distant, unknown, glittering stars. He showed her the path that would lead her back to civilization. Grateful, she asked where he lived so they could walk home together. He flatly refused, telling her that he was not coming with her. Suddenly, a massive, grotesque plant monster erupted from the ground. She identified it as a low-rank evil plant tentacle vine, a real hassle. She turns to Iris, impatiently asking if she has any special magical powers. With a cold, dismissive look, he declares that she is in the way. He unleashes his slashing sky domain, instantly slicing the monster to pieces. Iris is frozen in shock, her mouth agape at the sudden, overwhelming display. She asks what just happened, but he curtly tells her to hurry up. Stuttering in disbelief, she wonders what kind of incredible magic that was. She thinks to herself that she has never seen or heard of such a circle. She tries to analyze it, guessing it's a powerful 6-tier wind spell. Looking at him with awe, she asks who in the world Mr. Shu is. Her face is flushed with a mix of fear, admiration, and intense curiosity. She remains silent for a moment, his expression calm and unreadable. A faint, mysterious smile touches his lips as he tells her it's a secret. A close-up on Iris's eye reveals her new, unshakable determination. He tells the noisy girl to go home, but she plaintively asks why. She stubbornly refuses to leave until he answers all of her questions. He raises his hand, warning that he will send her away himself. A teleportation circle glows brightly at her feet as he casts his spell. Iris lets out a small gasp of surprise as the magical light envelopes her. Her eyes widen in shock as the world around her begins to dissolve. She materializes instantly before the grand gates of the city of Erdana. The startled townsfolk ask where she came from and if she is all right. She realizes he used movement magic that even A-class mages struggle with. Overwhelmed by his power, she covers her face, her mind racing. She wonders what this means, seeing a new possibility open before her. With fierce resolve, she vows that she must see Mr. Shu again. The scene shifts to the vast, sprawling city of Erdana, her home. We see the Grand Mage Academy, the institution where she is a student. Inside, she is ostracized by peers for having to repeat a year. A voice from Shu's memory, perhaps Iam's, tells him to look at her. A bully grabs her, sneering at her for smiling despite being a failure. The bully cruelly states a mage who can't use magic deserves no happiness. The sky darkens, reflecting the gloom of her lonely, isolated life. At night, she sits alone in her room, a solitary and sad figure. She looks out her window, a silent observer of the world outside. Her thoughts turn to Shu. At least he had never insulted her. A close-up on Shu's eyes shows a hint of a long-forgotten emotion. Back in her room, Iris curls up by the window, feeling hopeless. A single tear escapes her eye, a testament to her constant torment. A framed photograph of her smiling parents sits on her desk. Driven by her new resolve, she journeys back to the Eldera forest. The goblins are startled, sensing the unexpected presence of a human. One tells Shu it smells a human female. He thinks it's impossible. The goblins are confused, recalling their lord of the forest is absolute. Shu turns, preparing to dismiss them and investigate the disturbance himself. Iris appears, playfully caught by a plant monster, laughing it off. She thanks Shu for his help, as if he had saved her again. Shu looks at her, mildly annoyed, asking why she has returned. Wiping away a tear, she says with conviction that she came for him. Her expression is one of desperate, heartfelt, and hopeful determination. Looking up at him, she makes her request. She wants him to teach her magic. She explains that he can use 6-tier magic, unlike her D-rank teachers. She concludes that he is stronger than her teachers and can help her. She begs him, saying he is her last hope to stop being a failure. He tells her that he is self-taught and doesn't really know anything. Her desperate plea strikes a familiar, painful chord deep within Shu. He recalls the gentle, guiding words of a girl from his past life. The memory of I am telling him to listen echoes clearly in his mind. He reflects that the memories of his previous life are so troublesome. Iris cheers as he agrees to teach her, but he adds a condition. In exchange, she must teach him everything about this world and its magic. She asks how he can be so powerful, yet know nothing about magic. With a bright, determined smile, she agrees to the equivalent exchange. Shu thinks that this negotiation is a good opportunity for his own survival. Their lessons begin with Iris explaining the basics of the 4 elements. She explains how chanting and circles activate witchcraft to create artificial phenomena. Shu listens intently, absorbing the new information with a serious expression. He contrasts their conceptual view with his own scientific, formula-based understanding. An illustration shows how they apply dual natures to the elements to create magic. Iris asks about the classification system, and he asks what a staircase is. She explains the 15 tiers of magic, from lower to forbidden military spells. With her short lecture over, she declares it is now Shu's turn. He asks what kind of magic she would like to learn first. She excitedly says she wants to learn the spell named after her, Iris. She corrects herself, flustered, saying she meant the magic of the flower, Iris. She requests to learn the basic, 1st-tier wind attribute spell, Impact. Shu's mind instantly processes this as a complex wave dynamic equation. With a simple flick of his wrist, he unleashes a powerful blast of wind. Iris is amazed that he was able to cast the powerful spell without a chant. He asks if she knows what he did. She gives a simple, vague answer. He then asks her a more fundamental question. Then what's the wind? She is confused, wondering what he could possibly mean by the question. Shu, standing patiently, tells her to give the spell a try herself. She attempts to chant, but the words are just a string of meaningless sounds. The magic circle she summons is faint, weak, and visibly unstable. Her spell fails completely, the unstable circle shattering into nothingness. He explains his own spell uses spatial and acceleration magic to create shockwaves. A diagram illustrates how his technique compresses air molecules to create a shockwave. He explains that her world's magic uses a chant as a formula for activation. He asks if her failure is because she doesn't understand the nature of things. He compares it to an actor reading lines without understanding the play. A profound realization dawns on her. She's not a dropout. She just doesn't understand. She realizes for the first time that magic is about understanding the world. She is shocked, thinking that no one had ever told her such a thing. He suggests that if they interpret the words one by one, she can succeed. She admits that she was a failure because she couldn't do it before. He reassures her that it's okay and they will figure it out together. She is excited by the prospect of gaining new and powerful knowledge. Her expression is one of pure, heartfelt gratitude and newfound hope. They begin to decipher the ancient runes for a wind spell together. She admits she doesn't know the meaning, and he says he doesn't either. A question lingers in his mind as he recalls a distant, poignant memory. It was a memory of his past life, of a boy's insatiable curiosity. That same curiosity made him wonder if he was destined to be a scholar. The memory fades, a blur of light against the encroaching darkness. With a single, focused word, Iris attempts to cast the spell. A small but real shockwave erupts, kicking up leaves around her. Tears of pure joy and profound relief well in her eyes. He acknowledges her success, the first time she has cast magic properly. She realizes no one had ever truly tried to understand her struggles. She admits she hadn't even been trying to comprehend the magic's nature. Now, she declares her desire to understand both magic and her teacher. A gentle smile touches his lips as he agrees, feeling a similar desire. And so, 2 years pass under the watchful stars and changing seasons. Their lessons were often intense, pushing Iris far beyond her limits. She studied tirelessly, copying ancient runes late into the night. He guided her every step, nurturing the incredible talent dormant within. Her peers, jealous of her growth, spread cruel and baseless rumors. But their petty words could not halt her astonishing progress. The Academy officials recognized her true potential, a vast, untapped power. Her name, Iris Silverbread, is called out with a newfound respect. The former dropout's graduation is now officially confirmed. She is told of her new, prestigious path to become a holy knight. In a snowy forest, she joyfully announces her graduation to Shu. She thanks him from the bottom of her heart for his constant guidance. He smiles warmly, saying her great success was only natural. She observes how his expression has softened, an influence he attributes to her. He reflects on how she slowly filled the emptiness he once felt. She happily agrees that she is the reason for his welcome change. She reveals her plan to become a holy knight, shocking him to his core. The memory of the holy knight he was forced to kill resurfaces. He tells her they must part ways, leaving her heartbroken and confused. He explains the unavoidable conflict. Holy knights hunt demons like him. He muses on her charming inability to see the monster he truly is. She insists she doesn't care and wants him at her inauguration ceremony. She explains the annual ceremony for new knights at the Grand Cathedral. She wanted him, with gratitude, to witness this important moment for her. As an orphan, she has always longed for someone to share her triumphs. Her vulnerable plea resonates deeply with the lonely, ancient spirit. He closes his eyes, weighing his own safety against her happiness. He agrees to attend, and her face lights up with pure, unbridled joy. He makes her promise to find him herself if he cannot make it. She asks him to continue teaching her, and he readily agrees. Overjoyed, she twirls in the snow, celebrating their heartfelt promise. He watches her with a fond smile, moved by her simple happiness. A quiet moment of profound connection passes between them. They share a dance in the snow, a moment of peaceful intimacy. On the day of the ceremony, the city of Aldana is alive with celebration. Market stalls are filled with colorful goods and fragrant foods. The streets are crowded with townsfolk enjoying the grand festivities. Shu moves through the crowd, a shadow in the bright celebration. He asks a vendor about the reason for the day's festivities. He observes the lively atmosphere, a stark contrast to his own nature. The vendor explains it's a celebration for new demon-hunting knights. The man notes Shu's ignorance, guessing he must be a traveler. He reflects on his ability to blend in among humans when materialized. He turns from a stall, remembering he has no worldly currency. Inside the Grand Cathedral, the solemn inauguration ceremony begins. Iris stands among the other graduates, her expression serious and determined. An official speaks of the sun's position, signaling the ceremony's peak. The graduates wait nervously before the cathedral's massive doors. A hand gestures to Iris, summoning her forward from the line. The bishop recognizes her, recalling her renowned parents, Dahlia and Rose. He remembers that they fell during the Great War against the demons. She confirms, with a sad smile, that a demon killed them on duty. He offers condolences, assuring her that God is watching over them. He urges her to kill demons with sincerity to earn God's reward. An official tells her it's time, the church's expectations resting on her. A ceremonial banner is unfurled with a sharp, resounding snap. The crowd outside erupts into a deafening roar of approval. The new knights are presented to the city on the cathedral steps. A fellow knight remarks on the crowd, as Iris blushes with excitement. She reflects on the desperate need for more knights to protect the people. Her comrade tells her to be proud of being chosen for this great honor. She is overwhelmed by the blessings and joy of this momentous day. She wonders if she can live up to her parents' heroic sacrifice. From the shadows of a tree, Shu watches over her silently. She senses his familiar presence, knowing that he is near. Her eye reflects the crowd, but her focus is solely on him. She sees him perched in a tree and thinks, "Mr. Shu, you came." The distance between their two worlds is vast, yet he is here for her. She feels he has led her to this bright, beautiful place in her life. With him watching over her, she is certain that she will be fine. And so, their new, intertwined lives began to unfold. They continued their exchange of knowledge, teacher and student. They meet at a quiet cafe for one of their regular study sessions. She assures him it's fine, preferring this to her other duties. He reflects on learning the country's culture and language from her. In exchange, she happily continues her magical education under his tutelage. She confides in him, complaining about unwanted attention from her colleagues. She describes how her male coworkers are all reckless and boastful. She complains how difficult it is to be seen as just a colleague. She mentions one man in particular, Emer, who constantly pesters her. As if summoned, the foppish Emer appears, declaring their meeting is fate. He asks her out to eat, but she flatly and immediately refuses him. She tells him she's already enjoying lunch with her master, Shu. Emer looks at their simple meal with utter disdain. It is a humble meal of bread, meat, and grapes. Shu watches the nobleman's intrusion with a silent, cold gaze. He insults Shu, questioning why a beautiful woman is with such a peasant. He claims her as his future partner, a tool for his family's dignity. An arrogant nobleman named Emer begins to harass Iris during her lunch with Shu. He crudely tells her she will have his baby, calling it a husband's duty. The atmosphere at their simple outdoor table becomes incredibly tense. Shu calmly looks up from his book, labeling Emer's words as sexual harassment. Emer and another woman look on, completely stunned by Shu's direct accusation. With a cold, hard stare, Shu tells the nobleman to get away from them. Emer is momentarily speechless, utterly shocked by the command from this simple-looking man. His shock quickly turns to rage as he screams at the filthy lowlife trash. Iris leaps to Shu's defense while Emer rants about his noble Ballard family. She declares that Mr. Shu is her master and a much better man than Emer. Emer scoffs in disbelief, asking her if she is serious about this man. He demands to know Shu's family name, assuming all mages come from famous houses. Shu knows he cannot reveal his true identity as a demon from another world. He calmly lies, claiming he abandoned his house to study magic instead of becoming a knight. Emer laughs mockingly, calling him a loser who failed as both a knight and a scholar. As he leaves, Emer sneers at the loser, while Iris shouts for him to stop. An awkward, heavy silence falls over the table after Emer's departure. Iris turns to her master, her expression apologetic as she says she is sorry. She expresses her shame, but Sharia assures her that she has nothing to apologize for. To lighten the mood, Shu offers her a piece of food, which she accepts with a blush. He smiles gently, telling her to eat up before her afternoon shopping trip. Iris chews happily, determined to get rid of the gloomy atmosphere Emer created. Her face breaks into a wide, joyful smile as she lets out a happy yay. From a distance, Emer watches them, his expression dark and calculating. He notes that while Iris always encourages Shu to eat, he never touches the food. The scene fades as the sun sets over the distant, rolling hills. As twilight falls, the canopy of the demon-infested Eldera forest is cast in shadow. Shu arrives at the forest's edge, sign that women's shopping takes a long time. He notes with satisfaction that he managed to return just before the sun set completely. With a determined look, Shu prepares to enter the dark woods. Suddenly, an invisible force slams into a tree right beside him with a loud crack. Shu turns, his senses already pinpointing the magical attack's origin. The thick tree trunk now bears a fresh, starburst-shaped impact crater. He calmly notes that he's been followed for some time by someone using invisibility magic. A disembodied voice, amused, simply says, "Oh my." Emer materializes from thin air, now in full armor, impressed by Shu's perception. He lifts his helmet, revealing a sadistic grin, calling Shu worthless shit. Shu looks on with mild surprise, admitting he didn't know such devices existed. Emer boasts that he knew Shu wasn't human. Shu asks for his reasoning. Emer explains that only a demon would dare enter the forest alone at night. His final clue, he reveals, was that Shu didn't order any food at the cafe. With a triumphant sneer, he states his conclusion. Demons don't eat human food. Shu's eye narrows, the time for deception now clearly over. His gaze hardens as he prepares himself for the inevitable confrontation. A powerful, dark aura begins to radiate from Shu as he stands ready. Emer declares that a monster like him does not deserve a woman like Iris. The battle begins in a blur of motion and hostile intent. Emer attacks with a partially invisible sword, a technique that surprises Shu. Shu realizes Emer is not hiding his hostility and that he must fight back. He briefly pictures Iris's sad face, wondering if she'd mourn this man's death. Deciding to spare him for Iris's sake, he tells Emer he'll let him go. Emer mocks his mercy as a pathetic attempt to act human, vowing to kill him. With fanaticism in his eyes, he declares he will kill Shu in El Magia's name. Emer summons a glowing magic circle, unleashing a powerful attack. He is stunned when Shu counters with an instant, chantless spell of his own. Shu calmly identifies Emer's technique as a damage-reflecting reflex spell. Emer's gauntlet drips with dark energy as he acknowledges Shu's skill. Though wounded, Shu tells the Holy Knight that he is still unable to kill him. With a cold, confident gaze, Shu states the simple reason: because you're weaker than me. Emer's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated rage at the insult. He loses all composure, screaming for the fucking bastard to die and get out of his way. In his frenzy, he claims that Iris loves him and that he deserves her. Shu stands calmly, watching the nobleman's pathetic, screaming charge. Emer declares that fate has already decided he will impregnate Iris for his family's prosperity. A silent, tender memory surfaces, Shu offering a piece of food to a happy Iris. The memory continues, showing Shu gently wiping a crumb from her smiling lips. The scene snaps back to a decapitated Emer, his face frozen in a final, confused, The arrogant nobleman's headless body collapses lifelessly into the forest undergrowth. Emer's dead eyes stare blankly from the grass as Shu mocks his acting skills. Looking down at the corpse, Shu thinks to himself that he is a better actor. To avoid an investigation, Shu uses movement magic to teleport the body away. Sometime later, the bell of a city church tolls in the distance. Iris meets with Shu, informing him that Emer's body has been found. Shu feigns ignorance, asking if a demon was responsible for the killing. Iris explains that the clean cut indicates the work of a powerful mage. She recounts how Emer's own colleagues were the initial suspects in the murder. With a grim expression, she reveals she was forced to view Emer's corpse. Recalling the perfectly sliced plant monster, she tells Shu she recognizes the cut. She looks directly at him, her voice trembling slightly, saying she remembers seeing it. Shu meets her gaze, his own intense, asking if she is sure the culprit is a mage. Her expression is a mixture of turmoil and dawning, terrible certainty. With unwavering conviction, Iris confirms that the killer is indeed a mage. She admits that Emer's death, while tragic, has brought some peace back to her work. Shu asks if she helped with the investigation, but she says she's just glad for the normality. As Iris eats, she thinks to herself that she wishes she could help find a killer. Far away, an oracle named Kamiko sees a wicked star shining in the southern sky. Her eyes widen as she is overcome by a powerful, prophetic vision. Her attendants whisper in awe of her beauty while she is in her trance. In her vision, she sees a wave of healing greenery spreading across the land. She sees two gates standing before her in a grassy field. One is an orderly wooden door, the other, a dark, fleshy portal of resentment. The prophecy reveals that a man can choose to pass through either gate. Kamiko's vision intensifies, her expression filled with urgency and concern. A skeletal hand reaches for a doorknob as she declares the day of choice is near. The vision ends, and Kamiko collapses as her attendants rush to her side. The prophecy is prepared to be delivered to a council of world leaders. The council discusses the oracle's vision, believing it foretells a new demon king. One member expresses shock, questioning if it's truly a disaster-class being. An elder confirms a similar prophecy preceded the birth of the immortal king, Xenon. They decide they must act quickly, targeting the Elder of Forest as the likely location. In a grand hall, a leader named Kanna declares that reinforcements must go to Elder of Forest. An old councilman questions her motives, asking if she seeks credit for this action. Another elder official sits with his arms crossed, appearing weary of the entire discussion. They recall the prophecy of two gates, knowing they must choose the right path. Deep in that forest, a pig demon works diligently at a large spinning wheel. This is the Monster Village, a surprisingly peaceful and developed community. Here, different species of monsters like goblins live and socialize together. They even have a simple economy, trading shiny shells as a form of currency. Shu reflects that in 5 years, it has become a rather decent community. The monsters have evolved, gaining intelligence, individuality, and a sense of self. He can now easily communicate with the powerful chieftains, like the Kobold Kings. He remembers how his title, Master of the Demons, was once just a formality. Now, however, he recognizes the strange new feeling he has for this place, attachment. His peace is broken when a goblin scout reports that a hunting party encountered humans. Shu is alarmed to learn the attack was deep in their territory, not the entrance. He wonders why mages would venture so far into the forest after all these years. He realizes with a grim certainty that this must be a holy night subjugation force. He quickly orders the Goblin King to prepare ropes and traps for a hasty defense. He worries if he can possibly finish developing his powerful new magic in time. A fleeting thought of Iris being among them is quickly and hopefully dismissed. He reassures himself that he doesn't have to worry about running into her here. His eyes narrow with a mixture of grim determination and deep-seated concern. Meanwhile, in a grand cathedral, a report is being delivered to the Holy Order. The towering spires of the church headquarters loom against a cloudy sky. The bishop informs a crowd of knights about a large demon settlement they have located. According to their magic detection, the demon population is roughly 200 to 300. One knight notes a similar report of a demon nest growing in King's Land once. The bishop speculates that the leaders are likely powerful pig demons or orcs. A female knight asks a senior if there is anything different about this situation. The bishop predicts that this time, the boss is the prophesied king of the Wicked Star. He declares they must crush this potential evil before its power can fully awaken. The nation's king gives a chilling order. Handle it quickly, lest their country perish. The assembled knights stand at attention, their expressions a mix of duty and apprehension. A strike force is assembled to proceed immediately into the depths of the forest. The knights murmur that their leaders want the glory before reinforcements from Grinia can arrive. The final name is called to join the elite force, Lady Iris Silverbread. Another knight praises her, saying her magical expertise makes her a valuable asset. Her superior officer reassigns her from a potion investigation to this demon-slaying mission. Iris accepts the blessing given to the departing knights, her expression resolute. She reflects that this is her first major subjugation battle since becoming a knight. She feels the weight of her duty, the same one her late mother and father held. With a determined blush, she clenches her fist, vowing to do her very best. A fellow knight tries to ease her nerves, telling her to take it easy. Iris realizes with a start that they are departing in less than an hour. A sad thought crosses her mind. She wishes she could have spoken to Mr. Shu. She tells her friend she isn't sure when she will be able to return home. Back in the forest, Shu's monsters string rope between trees, preparing their defenses. They hang bone chimes from the ropes, a crude alarm to signal the enemy's approach. Shu knows this simple trap won't guarantee success, but it is better than nothing. The Goblin King sternly warns his people not to let their guard down. Shu announces that he must leave them to focus on learning his new magic. He turns to the Goblin King, preparing to give his final, crucial order. He entrusts the village to the Goblin King's care while he is gone. The Goblin King stares back, his eyes wide with the weight of this responsibility. A close-up on his eye reveals a deep, unwavering loyalty to his master. The monsters stand together, a united front ready to defend their home to the last. Shu retreats to a quiet, secluded riverbank to begin his arcane work. He knows that if he can complete this new magic, it will be their salvation. However, he struggles to channel the immense power required to give it form. The core of the spell crackles, a dark sphere surrounded by unstable energy. Complex formulas and runes swirl violently around the magical core, threatening to collapse. Shu's eyes are wide with focus, his concentration absolute as he weaves the spell. His hands, adorned with black nails, carefully guide the swirling energies of the circle. He holds the glowing, complex sphere of magic, desperately trying to stabilize its power. A strained breath escapes him, the immense effort taking a visible toll on his body. He realizes with frustration that he lacks both the time and the magic to finish. A diagram explains his revolutionary concept, a reusable, one-way flow of magical energy. He had experimented to make the magic circle compact and incredibly energy efficient. It was a three-dimensional design with a vertical activator and a horizontal program. This structure would allow him to reuse complex formulas, something impossible with flat circles. But the structure can only be envisioned. He lacks the power to give it proper form. He bites his thumb in frustration, acutely aware of his current limitations. He is surprised by the subconscious, overwhelming desire he feels to protect this place. He smiles faintly, realizing his attachment has changed him more than he thought. A sudden, sharp sound from the direction of the village shatters his concentration. He leaps to his feet, his hair flying, knowing the battle has begun. The goblin warriors rush towards the sound of the sprung trap, clubs at the ready. One goblin praises their king's industrious nature, always seeking to grow stronger. The Goblin King smiles with pride, agreeing that their master is a strong man. Two goblins look down at their simple alarm system, waiting for the enemy. The bone chimes rattle violently, their clattering sound echoing through the trees. The Goblin King and his subordinate realize their traps have been sprung. The monsters charge forward, screaming that they will kill the son of a bitch intruder. But as they approach the source of the sound, they find the area strangely empty. They wonder why there is no one here, despite hearing the trap go off. A sudden, blinding light from behind them signals an ambush. "Yo," a knight says casually, his greatsword cleaving through two goblins at once. The faces of the remaining monsters are a collage of shock and abject terror. The knight, Rubelius, looks upon them with an expression of cold, utter disdain. He mocks their simple trap, which only served to lead him to their lair. His eyes narrow with predatory intent. They have saved him the trouble of searching. The main force of holy knights emerges from the foliage, ready for battle. Iris, her face shadowed by her hood, says she has come for the demon. The knight leader stands over the first victims, declaring the battle of annihilation has begun. A map shows their plan, to destroy the lair and kill the demon king. Iris looks on grimly, knowing their target lies in the deepest part of the forest. Flags bearing the church's sigil are raised as soldiers pray for a victorious purge. A knight orders his squad to get to work as a monster's hut explodes. A goblin screams in terror, its face a mask of horror as the assault begins. A holy knight grins with savage delight as he moves in for another kill. A holy knight swings his great sword in a wide, devastating arc. The powerful slash cuts through the air with a tremendous sound. Amidst the flames of battle, a strange, eye-adorned staff is raised. A young knight cries out in alarm at the sudden turn of events. Thorny vines suddenly erupt from the earth, ensnaring a knight's leg. The nearby high-ranking pig demons react with fear and surprise. A mage calls out to his companion, Kyle, as another prepares a spell. A pig demon leader commands the shadows to submerge and protect them. With tears in his eyes, the leader embraces a smaller piglet. Dark, shadowy hands rise from the ground to envelop the pig demons. The leader and the young one are pulled into the protective darkness. The shadows retreat, leaving only a single, frightened piglet behind. Two young knights, Kyle and his friend, share a moment of triumph. Kyle pumps his fist, declaring that he and his friend are the strongest. He admits he was scared, but now sees the demons are weak and no problem. He eagerly anticipates playing a big role and earning his senior's praise. His boastful stride is cut short as the ground gives way beneath him. He tumbles helplessly into a deep, dark pit that has opened up. His friend peers down, realizing with a start that Kyle has fallen into a trap. At the bottom, Kyle complains, wondering why unintelligent demons would dig a hole. His senior calmly tells him to hurry and get up if he is not hurt. He warns that an enemy's trap is dangerous, no matter how strong you are. Suddenly, another knight cries out Kyle's name in a desperate warning. A grotesque goblin looms over the pit, silhouetted by the moon, axe raised. Kyle, frozen with fear, can only manage a weak, trembling hello. The goblin thinks to itself that the pit is enchanted with concealment magic. Its plan is to strike the helpless prey with one hard, decisive blow. The goblin swings its heavy axe, preparing to execute the fallen knight. In a flash, a figure descends from above, intercepting the attack. Kyle can only watch in stunned silence as the scene unfolds. His mind struggles to process the sudden, unexpected intervention. A blade slices cleanly through the goblin's head, killing it instantly. Kyle's face is a mask of shock and dawning relief. His senior, Rubelius, stands over the goblin's corpse, his sword driven deep. Rubelius looks down at the rookie with a confident, knowing smile. He reminds Kyle that textbooks and the battlefield are not the same thing. A fellow knight calls out in relief upon seeing them emerge. He is glad to see Kyle is alive, thanks to the intervention of his seniors. The senior knights instruct the rookies to regroup with the other troops. The two young knights run off, relieved to have survived the ordeal. The remaining knights are confident the battle will end early, despite the king's absence. A knight's expression falters as he senses something is terribly wrong. A gloved hand points as the knights realize someone is there. They discover a clearing littered with the bodies of their fallen comrades. In the center of the carnage stands Shu, his eye burning with cold fury. The ground is soaked with blood, the bodies of monsters scattered about. Shu's gaze is fixed on the newly arrived knights, his expression menacing. The dead monsters lie where they fell, a testament to a brutal fight. His face is cast in shadow, his long hair obscuring his features. He warns the knights that the forest is dangerous and they should leave. He asks what they're doing in a place that is off-limits. With a single, chilling word, he commands them to die. He extends his hand, unleashing his powerful domain cut technique. Rubelius is shocked by the spell's immediate, chantless activation. The invisible force of the spell washes over the unsuspecting knights. 2 knights are instantly killed, blood erupting from their heads. Rubelius identifies himself as a holy knight sent to destroy demons. Shu realizes he forgot to undo his human materialization in his haste. He gives a one-word answer to the knight's demand. No. The lifeless bodies of the 2 knights lie on the ground. Rubelius's eyes narrow with righteous anger and determination. He declares that he will not forgive this wickedness. Shu retorts that they ruined his home and he won't tolerate their barbarism. Rubelius unleashes a powerful gravity magic spell, pressing down on Shu. The immense pressure forces Shu to his knees. He feels his body getting heavier under the spell's crushing force. Shu counters the attack, activating a spell for physical strengthening. Rubelius raises his greatsword, preparing to strike with all his might. He slams his sword down, shattering Shu's magic circle with raw power. Shu is thrown back by the force, realizing his opponent is strong. He admits the knight may even be stronger than him. Rubelius, too, acknowledges that his opponent is a powerful one. He realizes Shu's magic formula is alien, not from any known country. He vows to defeat Shu and make him regret harming the Holy Knights. Rubelius charges forward with incredible speed. The 2 warriors clash in a blur of motion and steel. Shu realizes the danger just as the blade nears his face. He begins to teleport away, his body dissolving into particles of light. Rubelius sees the teleportation and vows not to let him escape. He lunges forward, determined to strike before Shu can vanish completely. The sword finds its mark, piercing Shu's shoulder. Rubelius curses, annoyed that he missed his opponent's heart. He stares at the strange wound, confused by what he sees. Shu grits his teeth in pain from the unexpected and powerful blow. The wound dissolves into a cloud of dark, ethereal energy. Shu's expression is one of pained surprise at the attack. His true form as a spirit demon is revealed, radiating immense power. He stands before Rubelius, acknowledging that the knight is smart. Rubelius finds this convenient, as he can now kill without hesitation. He activates Lightning Active, imbuing his sword with crackling energy. Shu knows that if he is hit, his entire body will be blown away. He realizes he is out of options. All he can do is run away. An unseen hand holds a small glass vial, preparing to intervene. The vial is thrown through the air, landing between the 2 combatants. It erupts in a blinding flash and a deafening explosion of lightning. Rubelius cries out, his senses overwhelmed by the sudden blast. Shu seizes the momentary opportunity, unleashing his domain cut once more. He grits his teeth, putting his remaining energy into the attack. The strange magic slices through the air toward the stunned knight. Rubelius, though disoriented, manages to reinforce his body just in time. The Holy Knight Rubelius Round defiantly introduced himself, a warrior of Ildura. Shu's mind raced, desperate for a way to survive and avenge his fallen village. Suddenly, an idea sparked, a desperate gambit centered on his very location. Rubelius raised his greatsword, declaring that his opponent would not get another chance. He vowed to unleash all his magical power to end them in a single, devastating blow. With a subtle motion, Shu cast his spell, laying a hidden trap on the forest floor. A small, unassuming magic circle glowed faintly on the ground before the charging knight. Rubelius was momentarily confused, wondering at the seemingly pathetic display of magic. A close-up reveals the quiet, deadly focus in Shu's eyes as his plan unfolds. The knight scoffed, dismissing the magic circle as a cheap, childish trick. He taunted Shu, certain the spirit had reached his limit and was wasting his time. Shu watched him approach, his expression weary, but his resolve unshaken. Announcing his magic charge was complete, Rebellious prepared to deliver the final, killing blow. The knight's heavy boots stamped across the rocky, uneven terrain of the clearing. Shu issued a final, cryptic invitation for their last dance. Unsuspecting, Rebellious stepped directly onto the glowing, preset magic circle. The knight screamed in pure rage, calling Shu a stupid monster. He bellowed that this was the end, his victory assured. With a final, powerful lunge, Rebellious brought his sword down. The ground erupted in a colossal explosion of white light, completely engulfing the knight. When the light faded, only a smoking crater and scattered embers remained. The view from below showed the immense, destructive power of the hidden trap. Shu shielded his face from the blast, admitting to himself it had been a close call. He briefly recalled digging the pits with his loyal pig demon followers. From the direction of the village, a desperate, agonized cry pierced the air. The voice, ragged with pain, called out Shu's name. Shu turned sharply as the cry, for Shu-sama, reached his ears. His face was a mask of grim concern as he realized the battle was not over. He found the Goblin King crawling through the mud, surrounded by the bodies of his kin. With his dying breath, the goblin apologized for failing to protect their home. Shu knelt in the dirt, gently holding his loyal, dying chieftain. The Goblin King begged his master to absorb his magic, to be with him in the end. Finding peace, the goblin thanked his king for giving him purpose. Shu's face was cast in shadow, his grief hardening into a cold, diamond-hard rage. He absorbed the goblin's life force, a swirling vortex of dark, sorrowful energy. The influx of power healed his wounded shoulder, but not the wound in his soul. He stood alone, the sole protector of a village that was no more. His eyes burned with hatred as he made a silent, chilling vow to kill them all. Elsewhere in the forest, the knight Zamus hummed a carefree tune. He sat perched atop a grotesque throne of slaughtered monster corpses. A comrade reported that the Demon King's goblins were still fighting stubbornly. Zamus casually told her to hang on, confident reinforcements would arrive soon. His armored boots splashed through the blood and viscera of his victims. He theorized that a disaster-class demon, the king of evil stars, was leading them. He hoped that by hunting the small fry, he could lure the king out for a fight. A cruel smile played on his lips. He was looking forward to the challenge. Another mage ordered her subordinate to begin cleaning up the remaining monsters. A knight unleashed a powerful torrent of flame, incinerating everything in its path. A squad of holy knights cornered the last of the terrified goblin villagers. The new Goblin King stared them down, his expression grim and resolute. A mage, disgusted by their stubbornness, prepared to release another spell. He unleashed a fifth-tier windblade, a scythe of pure magical force. A larger goblin heroically threw himself in front of a smaller, terrified one. The magical blade struck him squarely in the chest, his body taking the full impact. He fell, killed instantly, a final, selfless act of sacrifice. The new Goblin King watched in silent, impotent fury. The mages were surprised, wondering when goblins had developed such camaraderie. A heavily armored female knight stepped forward, declaring she would take the vanguard. The remaining goblins rallied behind their new king, preparing for their final stand. The Goblin King recognized the immense power radiating from their new opponent. His eyes widened in terror. He knew they stood no chance against her. He remembered Shu's final command, to take care of the village. The image of his master, his king, was reflected in his determined eyes. He knew he was counting on Shu to return and save them. The female knight prepared to unleash a fourth-tier flame spell. In a flash, Shu appeared behind two of the unsuspecting mages. The mage with the staff continued her incantation, completely unaware of his presence. Shu placed his hands on the heads of the two knights. His face was a mask of cold, silent, and absolute fury. With a single whispered command to die, he unleashed his vibration magic. The other knights could only watch in stunned horror. The tranquil clearing was shattered by a brutal, shocking display of power. The two mages' bodies exploded from within, a gruesome and instantaneous death. The female knight leader turned, her expression one of surprised curiosity. Her sharp eyes quickly assessed the new, deadly threat. Shu's feet touched the ground as he landed amidst his enemies. He lunged towards the leader, his long hair flying behind him. He unleashed his vibration magic with a single, powerful word. Up. The knight's body seemed to contort and burst from the force of the attack. But instead of blood and gore, her form dissolved into a spray of pure water. The liquid splashed harmlessly across the forest floor, the attack completely negated. She realized the surprise attack was the only way to defeat such a powerful foe. The water on the ground began to churn and gather, reforming. He watched, noting that it wasn't blood. Something was fundamentally different about her. The liquid swirled violently, coalescing into a familiar humanoid shape. With a final splash, her form completely solidified once more. The female knight stood before him, entirely unharmed by his devastating attack. She was stunned, questioning if she had transformed into a water vortex. She laughed, admitting his explosion magic was a good move, but a bad matchup. Her face rippled and reformed from the swirling liquid. The water armor settled around her, a living, magical defense. She had always believed a body made of water was incredibly versatile. Her expression hardened as she vowed to make him pay for killing her friends. She was taken aback by her ability to reform from a mere whirlpool of water. A memory surfaced of Iris, explaining the different types of magical costumes. She had told him how some armor could be created using the essence of beasts. She described the ultimate defense, armor that was a shape-shifting magical device itself. Back in the present, Shu ordered the Goblin King to take everyone and flee. He turned to his loyal subject, his voice firm as he commanded him to run away. Reflected in the Goblin King's eye, Shu stood firm, a king who would not be abandoned. An imposing knight, Rebellious, stares down his foe with cold, analytical eyes. He confronts Shu, who stands defiantly as the protector of his goblin village. A goblin subject apologizes to Shu, admitting some of their own ventured into the forest. The Goblin King confesses with deep regret that he failed to follow his master's orders. With his dying breath, the king begs to be allowed to stay by Shu's side. Shu listens in silence, his expression hardening with grief and a cold, rising fury. Rebellious saves a younger knight by brutally decapitating an attacking goblin. The female knight captain, Kanna, coolly assesses the battlefield, her gaze missing nothing. She stands over a fallen monster, her dark cloak billowing around her like a shadow. A goblin throws itself at her in a final, desperate lunge. Kanna declares this is it, unleashing a powerful thunderbolt spell. The monster is instantly obliterated in a blinding flash of lightning. She strikes a cute, victorious pose over the smoking remains, flashing peace signs. A junior knight thinks to herself that such power is to be expected of Iris. Another knight praises Iris for her incredible skill with wind magic. Iris modestly insists that they all succeed by fighting together as a team. She confides in her senior that she feels useless providing only rearguard support. The senior knight reassures her with a kind smile, patting her head affectionately. They see a signal flare streak across the sky, reporting a kill on the alpha target. The knights march onward, their boots crunching on the forest floor. Arriving at the main camp, they are greeted with relief by their weary comrades. The ground is a gruesome carpet of monster corpses trampled underfoot. Flies buzz around the lifeless, screaming face of a fallen goblin. A senior knight expresses his relief at Iris's arrival, praising her healing spells. Iris asks a younger knight, Kyle, about the disaster class demon leader. Kyle explains their boss is unusually strong and organized, a truly formidable foe. Iris listens intently, her hand clutching her cloak, her face grim. Her senior reminds her that her own parents were killed fighting a disaster-class demon. A memory surfaces of a small, orphaned Iris learning of her father's death. Her eyes narrow with resolve. She vows to one day defeat such a monster herself. The arrogant knight, Zamus, arrives, dragging a figure impaled on a wooden board. A comrade calls out, chiding Zamus for being late to the rendezvous. Zamus boasts that he has captured the disaster-class demon, warning others to stay back. Iris pushes through the crowd of knights, trying to get a glimpse of the captive. A knight remarks on the brutal display, calling the impaled figure skewer. Iris and the junior knights complain that they can't see through the crowd. A clear, viscous liquid, not blood, drips from the captive's wounds. Her eye widens in shock as she recognizes the substance, a single escaping her. The captive is revealed, Shu, kneeling in the grass, his very essence bleeding away. Iris stares in utter disbelief, her face a mask of horror as she whispers, "What?" The strange, clear liquid continues to flow from his wounds, pooling around him. She looks up, his expression a mixture of pain, exhaustion, and resignation. She stumbles forward, her voice trembling as she calls out his name, Shu-san. Her mind retreats into a memory of a peaceful day, waking in a field to find Shu. She wears a crown of flowers, looking at him with sleepy, happy surprise. In the memory, she pinches his cheek, making sure the perfect moment is real. A blush spreads across her face as she confirms he is truly there with her. She holds her face in her hands, overcome with a pure, simple happiness. The idyllic memory fades. It was a beautiful moment that now feels like a dream. Thrust back into the present, she asks Shu why he is here, why he was captured. Zamus coldly states their mission, to defeat the king of the evil stars. Kana warns Iris that it isn't safe and that she needs to get away. The other knights begin to murmur, realizing with dawning suspicion that Iris knows the demon. Zamus screams at her, grabbing her arm and demanding she get away from him. Kana calmly urges her to be cautious, reminding her of the demon's power. Iris looks at them with unwavering faith, insisting that she would never attack her. Another knight watches the tense standoff, his expression unreadable. He loses his patience, shouting at her and asking if she understands the situation. Zamus confronts them both, his voice low and dangerous as he asks if they know each other. Shu's first, desperate thought is to admit that yes, he knows her. The knights react with disgust, calling their friendship a betrayal of the highest order. He quickly changes his mind, resolving to lie and say he doesn't know her to protect her. He sends her a silent plea, asking how humans and demons could ever be friends. Iris receives his telepathic message, her expression hardening with understanding. She knows they are at an overwhelming disadvantage against the assembled knights. His deadliest attack, the domain cut, is useless against the water-wielding captain. His life-draining power is also ineffective. He knows he is at his wit's end. He decides that above all else, he must prioritize Iris's safety. The water-wielding knight stands ready, her power radiating from her armored form. Zamus laughs mockingly, finding the idea of their friendship utterly absurd. A knight's eyes narrow, realizing this must be the demon who killed their comrades. They identify him as the Holy Knight Slayer, the one who killed Rebellious. They declare that befriending a demon is high treason, an act punishable by death. Zamus presses Iris again, demanding to know if she and the demon know each other. She tries to intervene, shouting that he already said he doesn't know her. He screams at Zamus to shut up, desperately trying to draw his attention. Zamus ignores him, his gaze fixed on Iris Silverbread as he demands the truth. Iris stands with her back to them, her mind made up. Kana watches silently as Iris prepares to make her fateful choice. A close-up shows Iris's mouth set in a line of grim determination. She turns, her eyes filled with tears but her voice steady, and confesses he is her master. A memory of them studying together flashes by as she explains he taught her everything. Shu is visibly moved as she tells him how much she is indebted to him. She clasps his hand tightly, declaring that she cannot fake this feeling. Their hands remain joined, a symbol of their unbreakable and now revealed bond. Zamus looks on, his expression one of utter disbelief and disgust. He asks if she knew he was a demon. She insists she only just found out. Her internal thought reveals the truth. She simply didn't want to know. Zamus shakes his head in disappointment, lamenting that he thought she was a good knight. His disappointment explodes into pure rage as he raises his hand and hisses the word, traitor. He strikes her hard across the face, the force of the blow sending her reeling. Seeing her hurt, Shu unleashes his life absorb, shattering his magical restraints. Iris cries out his name, her face breaking into a wide, joyous smile. Zamus curses, enraged that Shu has used his strange magic to escape. She knows he only broke free because Zamus's focus was divided. He understands he won't be able to escape the same way if he is caught again. He stands before Iris, who looks up at him, her voice trembling as she speaks. He gently touches her face, chiding her for not keeping her mouth shut. She looks at him, heartbroken but resolute, and says she doesn't want to be his enemy. Shu is stunned into silence, a profound and unfamiliar warmth spreading through him. His face softening with an emotion he'd long forgotten, Shu whispers his heartfelt thanks. A warm light radiates from his chest, a feeling of pure gratitude blooming within him. The knight Kana leaps through the air, demanding to know what they're talking about. Zamus declares that vengeance must wait. Their first priority is to kill the demon. Surrounded by holy knights, Shu prepares his magic, his hands glowing with power. Iris, seeing the impending slaughter, lets out a desperate cry for them to stop. She throws herself in their path, pleading for them not to attack, not to kill him. Shu creates a complex magic circle, preparing to invert the acceleration of their attacks. The young knight Kyle turns to his friend, asking her to help convince Iris. A volley of holy arrows slams into Shu's shimmering magical shield. The arrows are deflected, turning back on the shocked knights who fired them. Iris insists that Mr. Shu is a good person, the benefactor who changed her life. A knight warns his comrades to be wary of the demon's strange, unpredictable tricks. Kyle and Iris share a look, a chasm of misunderstanding opening between them. With a pained expression, Kyle asks his friend if she is truly betraying them. A single tear falls from Iris's eye as she asks if they aren't friends anymore. A fellow knight coldly informs her that betraying them makes her a witch. The knights begin their assault, one casting a second-tier earth spell. Vicious, thorny vines erupt from the ground, wrapping tightly around Shu's body. Another knight follows up, trapping him within a swirling third-tier water prison. He is completely submerged and bound, caught in their confinement method 9. Kana holds up a holy relic, asking if he remembers the man he killed for it. She demands he repent for his sins and offer an apology to them all. Submerged in the vortex, Shu's gaze remains defiant and unbroken. He retorts that he only killed because he refused to die himself. Kana screams in zealous fury, her face contorted with rage. She bellows that all monsters are inherently evil and must be killed. It is the absolute, divine order of their god, El Magia. The knight Zamus begins to deploy his own powerful vibration magic. Shu manipulates light's refraction, creating a shield to deflect the incoming attack. The deflected magic slams into a nearby building, which explodes under the force. A younger knight calls out in alarm to his captain. Zamus looks back with annoyance, asking if the battle is finally over. Kana reveals her plan, using vibrational magic to freeze the water solid. The swirling prison begins to crystallize, encasing Shu in a tomb of ice. Trapped, Shu knows he must somehow burn through the magic to escape. He strains against the thorny vines, his body taut with effort. Kanna's water armor forms into a sharp blade, ready for the final blow. She taunts him from outside the ice, asking if he truly thought he could escape. Standing over his helpless form, she raises her blade and declares that it's over. She reminds him that his magic is useless against her impervious magical armor. Shu lies defeated on the ground, his face bruised and streaked with dirt. He looks up at the descending blade, a sense of grim acceptance washing over him. His only thought is that he couldn't help it. He was simply too weak. An image of an iris flower fills his mind. His weakness is his only regret. With his last ounce of strength, he unleashes a final spell, lightning impact. The ground beneath Kanna erupts in a blinding flash of energy and water. The shockwave shatters the ice prison, freeing Shu from his frozen tomb. He leaps from the crater, escaping the tangled mess of thorns and earth. He lands nearby, stunned and breathless, looking back at the chaos. The force of the explosion has carved a deep crater into the forest floor. Zamus stands at the edge of the pit, looking down into the darkness. A confident smirk plays on his lips, completely unfazed by the blast. His face now scratched, he furiously demands to know what just happened. Iris stands between the factions, her immortal armor activated, her cape billowing. Zamus screams her full name in a fit of pure, unadulterated rage. Kyle can only stare in disbelief, whispering the name of his senior officer. He begs her to tell him it's a lie, promising that they will forgive her. He clasps his hands, praying to their god that this is all a mistake. Zamus, seeing her defiance, unleashes his own lightning impact attack. Kyle cries out in despair, watching the deadly spell fly towards his friends. Zamus laughs, declaring that he would have let her go if she'd just complied. Iris knows she cannot stand by and do nothing. It is impossible for her to simply watch the man who saved her die. She screams that there is no way she could just watch him be killed. Her loyalty is absolute. She cannot watch Mr. Shu be executed. The battlefield is a tense standoff between Zamus, Shu, and the defiant Iris. Shu realizes her quick thinking deflected the attack, saving his life. He knows he must seize the small opportunity Iris has created for them. He steels his resolve, knowing they must find a way to survive this, together. Zamus attacks, his magic tearing through Iris's leg in a splash of water. The force of the blow sends her stumbling back into the tall grass. He grabs her, inflicting a gruesome wound as she screams in pure agony. The brutal assault continues, a flurry of motion and pain. Her wounds are destroyed and healed in a horrifying, semi-permanent cycle of torment. Zamus explains that her armor will keep her alive, but not spare her the pain. He sneers that it is much harder to live through this than to simply die. Kanna warns another knight not to interfere, lest he be branded a traitor too. She watches the torture from a distance, her expression unreadable. The knights convince themselves that she must be under a mythical spell of love. Zamus scoffs at the idea, calling the mind-manipulating spell a mere fairy tale. Another knight insists it must be real, as she would never be so foolish otherwise. They conclude that she is being manipulated, which is why she protects the demon. Kanna agrees with a placid smile, calling it an unforeseen, unavoidable circumstance. A dark resolve hardens in Zamus's eyes. He declares that unfortunately, he will show the traitor no more mercy. Another knight states that Iris is now bound to face the Holy Inquisition. She will be made to suffer for her disobedience until the day of her execution. Two knights argue, one defending their junior while the other condemns the traitor. Iris lies on the ground, panting and exhausted from the unending torture. She looks up weakly as a pair of bare feet land softly beside her. Shu kneels over her, his own form dissolving as he reaches out a gentle hand. Her eyes widen in a mixture of shock, pain, and relief. He tenderly wipes a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Kana lets out a small gasp of surprise at his sudden move. The dark silhouette of Shu kneels protectively over the fallen Iris. Kana screams at him, ordering him to get away from the girl at once. Shu stands over Iris's body, his gaze dark and filled with unspoken rage. The wind rustles through the grass of the blood-soaked clearing. Kana stands alone, her expression unreadable as she assesses the new situation. Shu, his face a mask of cold fury, gazes down at the chaos. The Holy Knight Kana's face is etched with shock and disbelief. Her expression shifts to a weary, sorrowful resignation. Below, Iris lies trapped in a cycle of unending, torturous pain. Kana's eyes are filled with a sad, empathetic understanding. She closes her eyes, having made a difficult and final decision. She makes an impossible request to Shu, asking him to help Iris. Shu unleashes his ultimate attack, the devastating sky-slashing domain. The massive Japanese character for slashing dominates the battlefield. The character for domain overlays the knights, sealing their fate. The final character, area, completes the spell as the knights are torn apart. She catches Kana's dissolving head, a vortex of water and fury. She screams in agony as she is consumed by Shu's dark energy. Her mouth is a wide, silent rictus of disbelief and rage. She shrieks a final, defiant, "How dare you?" as her form is annihilated. Shu declares he will personally kill the disgusting human. He vows that he will not let anyone take Iris away from him. He is the enemy of humans, a demon who will protect her at all costs. He screams at Kana, telling her not to pretend to be human. Her water form explodes into a grotesque, chaotic splash of energy. Shu watches as the last of her remains dissolve into nothing. He turns his terrifying gaze on his next victim, commanding them to die. He grabs another knight, unleashing his death magic at point-blank range. The knight's body is consumed by a torrent of dark, swirling energy. He screams in agony as his flesh is stripped from his bones. His face melts away, revealing the skull beneath in a horrifying instant. His very being is unmade, his eyeball flying free from its socket. The knight's empty armor clatters lifelessly to the forest floor. A new sound resonates deep within Shu's body, a clear hum of power. By absorbing the holy knights, his life-sucking has become death. His form changes, adorned with new, ornate spiritual armor. With this immense power, Shu Archlight is transformed into a new race. He stands reborn, a being of unimaginable power, a death elementa. His dark robes trail behind him, sparkling with starlight and death. Iris realizes the spell that bound her has finally been broken. She recognizes him as a death spirit, confirming her deepest suspicions. The battle is over. The last of the Holy Knights lies dead. At the Holy Order's headquarters, the news of the disaster is grim. The leaders decide to suppress the news to avoid widespread panic. Iris Silverbret announces her return as the sole survivor. The council members look on with grave, worried expressions. She stands alone before them, ordered to report what happened. The king asks what monster could kill their most elite knights. Iris begins her lie, claiming it was a mutated ogre king. A council member scoffs, finding it ridiculous they lost to an ogre. Iris knows she must lie to protect Shu from another attack. She resolves to mix the truth with lies to save him. She claims the Demon King sent her back as a messenger. The council is shocked that the demons are now making demands. They debate whether to honor the truce or heed the prophecy. Iris pleads with them to simply leave the forest alone. A sinister voice from the shadows declares that he smells lies. Iris flinches, startled by the sudden, menacing presence. The Inquisitor Gremlin appears, claiming he can smell a liar. Iris recognizes the man's name with a sense of dread. A council member tells the creepy Gremlin to speak clearly. Gremlin points out the glaring contradiction in her story. He questions why Zamus died while her armor saved her. He reminds her that even immortality has its limits. He states that Zamus was far superior in power and equipment. He demands to know how she is the only one who survived. He screams in her face, demanding that she answer him. Iris is paralyzed by fear, unable to speak or move. A hand suddenly rests on Iris's head, startling her. The bishop intervenes, declaring that his soul tells him she is lying. He commands her to speak the truth about what happened. Her resolve broken, Iris prepares to confess everything. She reveals it was a special demon who killed everyone. The demon's race, she explains, was that of spirit. The council members are shocked, unable to believe a mere spirit did this. She recounts how a magic circle tore through dozens of mages. The memory of the clean, sharp cuts flashes in her mind. She recalls the impossibly sharp cross-section of the wounds. The council realizes the spirit stole the magic of the dead. Iris explains the captain's magic armor was torn away from him. With the captain's power, the spirit evolved into a death spirit. The king recognizes this as the legendary demon king. Legends tell of a king whose awakening shakes heaven and earth. A priest whispers in disbelief, "No way." The prophecy of the wicked star was true. It was the demon king. Iris confirms, with a slight blush, that Mr. Shu is the demon king. The council laments that the dreaded prophecy has come to pass. A female leader states that Princess Mykoheim's prophecy was true. She wonders if sending the holy knights was a fatal mistake. The bishop confirms the immense power of the knights they sent. They realize they fed the spirit enough power to become king. The council erupts into accusations, blaming the bishop for the failure. A young knight furiously defends the honor of his fallen comrades. He accuses the bishop of fearing his failure will be exposed. The bishop sweats, knowing they cannot overlook the birth of a king. The knights call for reinforcements, believing they still have a chance. Iris cries out for them to wait, to stop their plans. She pleads with them, insisting she will not harm them if left alone. Gremlin questions if a demon will truly keep its word to humans. Iris insists that he made a promise directly to her. She begs them to leave him alone, as he is her master. Gremlin's face twists with malice as he accuses her of betrayal. He claims she must have colluded with the monsters in advance. He shrieks that her betrayal is why she is the only survivor. Iris denies it, but Gremlin declares it is all her fault. The Inquisitor Gremlin noted the unerasable stench of strong blood, asking for a moment to talk. The bishop serenely agreed, placing the blame for the dead holy knights squarely on her. Gremlin declared he would use his authority to execute the witch responsible for the Demon King's birth. Surrounded by the cold judgment of the council, Iris's fate was about to be decided. Far from the city, the Elder of Forest remained quiet under a peaceful sky. But within a sunlit clearing, small graves marked the site of a recent massacre. She stood amidst the carnage, a vortex of dark, chaotic energy swirling around him. He felt the new power settle, confidently stating he now understood this dark magic. This was death magic, a power that could kill instantly, mastered only by understanding the world's laws. He knew he had to master this dangerous force before he could safely protect Iris. Small, timid spirits, the forest's only survivors, watched him from the undergrowth, startled. They longed to approach their powerful king, but were too afraid of his new aura. She looked upon the remnants of his kingdom, his expression hardened by loss. In a moment of gentleness, he tried to reassure the spirits that it was safe now. His kindness worked, and the spirits rushed towards him, their fear forgotten. He observed that only the lesser spirits remained. His loyal subjects had not survived. The silence of the empty village settled upon him, a profound and heavy quiet. A war memory surfaced, Iris excitedly pointing out a bakery on a map for him. The memory was a spark of light in the darkness of his current reality. Lost in thought, he stood silently, a new resolve forming within him. He took to the sky, a dark comet followed by a tail of lesser spirits. His destination was the great walled city, the heart of the Holy Order's power. He descended into the bustling streets, a monster walking among oblivious humans. He found her house and knocked firmly on the simple wooden door. Standing on the quiet street, he wondered aloud if she was not at home. He recalled her giving him permission to enter, deciding to wait for her inside. With a simple touch, he traced a glowing magic circle over the sturdy lock. The mechanism clicked open instantly, granting him access to the empty home. He stepped across the threshold, his silhouette framed by the light from the street. The small house was dark and silent, showing no signs of recent life. He moved cautiously through the gloom, searching for any clue, any sign of her. His eyes fell upon a small table holding wilted flowers and a framed photograph. He drew closer, his gaze fixed on the objects left behind on the dusty surface. His hand reached out, picking up the photo of a smiling Iris with her parents. The image of her lost happiness sent a shockwave of grief through him. His eye widened, the reflection of her innocent past mirroring his present horror. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed by a sudden, explosive burst of despair. A raw, agonized scream tore from his throat, shouting her name into the silence. He ran through the city, his destination the grand cathedral towering over the rooftops. Meanwhile, a carriage sped along a country road, its passengers' fate already decided. The wheels turned relentlessly, carrying the condemned woman towards her final destination. Inside, Iris lay quietly, her expression a mask of weary resignation. A memory. A voice noted that Iris's stubbornness might lead them into conflict. She had once promised everything would be fine, a vow that had tragically failed. He searched the city with his magic sense, but found no trace of her presence. His expression was grim, his determination unwavering as he continued his desperate search. He reasoned she must be held captive in the cathedral, the city's holy center. He moved through the city's alleyways, a shadow seeking to infiltrate the light. A magic circle flared to life at his feet as he enhanced his own power. Ribbons of magical energy wrapped around him as he prepared to make his move. He decided his spirit form would make it easier to infiltrate the fortified building. But a sudden thought gave him pause, and he hesitated before acting. He realized the anti-demon headquarters would surely have powerful defensive measures in place. He feared a direct assault might result in them using Iris as a hostage against him. The thought of her being put in more danger filled him with a cold dread. He abandoned the plan, deciding he had to avoid that terrible possibility at all costs. Leaning against a wall, he pondered his next move, searching for another way. He stood in the shadows of a public square, observing the city's inhabitants. A voice suddenly called out to him, breaking him from his troubled thoughts. A bearded man approached with a knowing grin, recognizing him from somewhere. The man, a friendly merchant, cheerfully asked if he had brought any money today. She turned to face him, his expression guarded and questioning, unsure of the man's intent. The city continued its daily routine, unaware of the demon walking its streets. At one of the city's gates, a guard greeted merchants making their daily delivery. A chef chided the merchants for their tardiness as they entered a bustling courtyard. The merchant proudly presented his delivery, offering the finest ingredients to the chef. The chef grumbled that he had to cook well, as the bishop was in a foul mood. The merchant then spotted Shu, waving to him with a friendly greeting. Shu, now cloaked, watched as the merchants disappeared through a heavy side door. He followed the talkative merchant, listening silently as the man pushed his empty cart. The merchant led him through a doorway, deeper into the cathedral's complex. The heavy wooden doors swung shut, sealing them inside the holy sanctum. His boots echoed softly on the polished stone floors of the cathedral's interior. Thanks to his new acquaintance, he had successfully entered the cathedral in his material form. He had told the kind merchant he was here to surprise his holy knight sister. The man, believing his story, had enthusiastically offered to help him get inside. In exchange, he had only asked for a little help with work at his store. Shu was more interested in seeing how this unexpected situation would ultimately play out. Now inside, he walked alone through a long, arched corridor, his goal within reach. He was a monster, hostile to humans, yet here he was, helping at a market stall. He continued his solitary walk, the irony of his situation weighing on him. He found himself completely immersed within the very human society he sought to avoid. He, a demon, was being actively and kindly helped by the people he was meant to despise. The quiet footsteps of two approaching priests echoed down the empty hallway. They stopped nearby, their conversation drifting towards him on the still air. Leaning against the wall, Shu listened intently as one priest asked another for news. The priest spoke of a traitor witch, and Shu's attention sharpened instantly. His face was a mask of shock and dread. They were talking about Iris. He clenched his fists, his body tense, as he waited for more information. Suddenly, one of the priests noticed him lurking in the shadows and jumped back in surprise. The startled priest questioned what an outsider like him was doing in this area. Shu acted swiftly, a single sharp blow silencing the man's questions. He found another group of priests discussing the incident in the Elder Forest. Now disguised, he stepped forward, asking them to tell him more about what they had said. The priests were confused by the stranger, but assumed he was one of their own. They eagerly agreed, happy to share the scandalous story with a fellow clergyman. He lied smoothly, claiming he had just returned and was catching up on events. They recounted the disastrous mission, the punishment of the traitor, and the new strike force. She cut them off, demanding to know where the so-called traitor was being held now. A young priest cheerfully informed him that she was taken to the capital and burned alive. A dark-haired traveler listens intently, his expression grim and unreadable. A priest explains that traitors to the Holy Order are burned at the stake. A blonde priestess laughs, finding the grim tradition nostalgic from her school days. She turns with a smile, asking why he would question such a thing. From the shadows, Shu asks her why she is laughing at this news. His sudden, cold question startles the group of priests into silence. Her companion stammers an apology, confused by the traveler's sudden anger. The priestess simply chuckles, beginning her venomous explanation with a single word. She declares with a smug smile that such a fate suits Iris perfectly. His eye narrows, a dangerous glint appearing as he hears her words. The priests gossip, recalling that Iris had a bad reputation as a student. The priestess proudly points out that she used to be Iris's classmate. A memory of Iris's face from her academy days flashes by. She claims to know Iris very well from their time together. She calls Iris a failure, saying her grades were bad and she couldn't use magic. Others wonder how her grades suddenly improved, whispering salacious rumors. The priestess scoffs at how people started praising her as an A-rank student. The traveler's hand hangs at his side, his fingers beginning to tense. His hand clenches into a tight fist as she accuses Iris of seducing men. She concludes that Iris was a lousy woman who deserves her terrible fate. She then boasts about her own excellent grades and extraordinary future career. Her self-congratulatory speech is cut short by an unexpected sound. She finally speaks, asking if she has finished talking her nonsense. A dark, shadowy hand reaches out towards her startled face. He grabs her and forcefully slams her against a stone pillar. The other priests shout in alarm, telling him to stop being violent. She struggles in his grip, crying out that he's hurting her. He ignores her desperate pleas to be released, his expression like stone. He demands she take back her words, saying Iris isn't someone to be laughed at. Confused, she asks why he is defending the priestess with such passion. His eyes wide with a fury he can no longer contain. She has a twisted realization, shrieking that Iris was selling her body. She calls him a bastard, telling him to stop touching her with his dirty hands. Another priest steps in, trying to de-escalate the volatile situation. A more composed priest asks the crucial question, how does he know Iris's name? She looks down, his hair obscuring his face as he repeats the question. A memory of Iris's kind, smiling face flashes through his mind. He looks up, a quiet resolve settling on his features. He roars the truth for all to hear. Iris is his disciple. His power explodes outwards, revealing his true, demonic form. His long, black hair rises and expands into a pair of dark wings. His face is now that of a king of death, radiating immense power. The priests recoil in terror, screaming that a demon is among them. They recognize the black aura of the demon from the Elder of Forest. The priestess collapses to the floor, utterly terrified by the transformation. He confronts her one last time, demanding she take back her laughter. A flicker of her former arrogance returns to her face. She screams a final, defiant curse at the Demon King before her. He calmly acknowledges her final words with cold indifference. He unleashes his death magic, and her body withers into a screaming skeleton. He stands impassively over the pile of dust that was once his tormentor. A single, final sound of agony echoes in the silent cathedral. The other priests argue over who gets the credit for killing him. He asks with disgust if they even care about their fallen friend. They dismiss his question, telling the demon to just die for their sake. His expression is one of cold disappointment at their pathetic greed. He unleashes his power, slaughtering the rest of the priests instantly. Only one terrified priest is left alive amidst the bodies of his comrades. Shu approaches the lone survivor, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He holds the man, demanding to know where he can find Iris. The priest tells him to go out the north gate and follow the road. Shu commits the directions to memory, his expression grim. He explains there is a town with a cemetery along that road. Then, a spark of spite enters his eyes, and he begins to laugh. He tells Shu that even if he goes now, it is already too late. A map illustrates that the journey on foot would take 10 days. However, the witch's enchanted carriage will arrive at Ramsa in only 2 days. He gloats that Shu will never make it in time for her execution. Shu calmly thanks the priest for the helpful advice. The priest's face falls, confused by Shu's lack of panic. Shu explains that in his spirit form, he can fly using acceleration magic. Without needing sleep or rest, he can make the journey in 3 days. The priest makes a final, desperate warning about the knights protecting Ramsa. Shu tells him that he talks too much and silences him forever. He arrives at the royal capital, his presence freezing the guards in place. Priests rush from the cathedral, demanding to know how he dares to enter. He dismisses them as a pain, having no time to deal with them individually. He places a single, dark hand upon the sacred stone floor. A wave of immense, magical power flows from him into the ground. He activates vibration magic and magic sense to map the earth below. Like a bat's echolocation, his magic reveals the secrets of the deep. Deep underground, his senses lock onto his target, a massive water vein. A look of grim determination settles on his face. This is the source of the Elder Forest's lush greenery. His finger glows with a brilliant, destructive light. He connects circuits of gravity, vibration, and acceleration magic. The priests charge forward, screaming for the monster to be killed. He remains focused, his head bowed as he completes his spell. He pictures the world Iris lived in, filled with heartless words. He sees her standing alone against a world of shadows. Her name is a quiet whisper on his lips. He remembers her turning to look at him, her expression soft. He recalls her gentle, happy smile, a beacon in the darkness. He vows that he will destroy the world that caused her such pain. A brilliant flash of light erupts from beneath the city. On the city streets, a guard and a citizen chat about the peaceful day. The ground erupts, and the grand cathedral is blown to smithereens. The massive shockwave tears through the surrounding city blocks. The citizens are caught in the blast, their screams lost in the roar. The capital of Ramsa is engulfed in a cataclysmic explosion. The ground shatters, throwing panicked citizens into the air with shouts of surprise. A colossal steam column erupts, a sight Shu notes he has never witnessed before. Floating above the ruin, Shu coolly assesses his destructive handiwork as a good job. His magic had targeted the groundwater, manipulating pressure and temperature to create an explosion. An acceleration spell then directed the entire blast upwards, utterly destroying the cathedral. From the rubble, a desperate hand reaches towards the sky, whispering the word God. Shu's expression is cold and unforgiving. He hopes they suffer for what they've done. The terrified crowd panics, demanding the holy knights kill the demon floating above them. The wounded bishop rallies his remaining knights, vowing they must destroy this demon. He sees a being wrapped in a black aura, radiating immense, sinister magical power. The bishop realizes with horror that this is the demon from the wicked star prophecy. The knights gather around him, praying to their god, El Magia, for divine blessings. The mob screams for the knights to attack, while a priest vainly tries to restore order. Shu watches them, thinking it would be wise for them to remain silent now. He unleashes his power, threatening to destroy the entire city if they defy him. Seeing their terrified silence, Shu accepts their compliance with a simple, okay. He turns away from the scene, leaving the crowd to stare in stunned fear. A faint smile touches his lips. He doesn't hate people who know when to listen. From within the wreckage, small, fuzzy, ghost-like spirits begin to peek out. Shu asks where they have been. They communicate their fear of all the humans. He looks at his ghostly followers and tells them it is time for them to go. Together, Shu and the spirits fly away, leaving the ruined city behind them. The survivors stand numbly amidst the rubble of their homes and their faith. Night falls over the broken kingdom, the sky filled with distant, indifferent stars. The sun rises, casting its light on a new and terrible day for Ramsa. In the city square, preparations for an execution are underway before the ruined cathedral. A grand statue stands as a silent witness to the city's grim proceedings. The citizens gossip excitedly, confirming the witch's execution is happening the next day. They speak of the special platform needed to purify an unclean soul with holy fire. A tall, imposing stone tower serves as the city's dungeon. A long, dark stone corridor stretches toward a single, barred prison door. A small mouse squeaks as it scurries across the cold, dirty floor. Iris lies in the darkness, her eyes open and her expression distant. From a high angle, we see her on the stone floor, whispering Shu's name. The view shifts to a long, winding stone staircase within the dungeon tower. Two guards stand watch, one remarking he never expected a witch from the Holy Knights. The other guard wonders how she is, noting she is awfully quiet for a condemned prisoner. Iris lies curled on the floor, her execution looming. She rolls on her back, wryly admitting to herself that she screwed up. She remembers being captured, stuffed into a carriage, and forcibly brought to this place. Gremlin's voice echoes in her mind, calling her a hopeless fool abandoned by God. He had sneered that the immortal witch, Iris Silverbread, must die. She recalls him shaking her, his face a mask of taunting glee. He had spoken to her with eyes that seemed to truly hate her. Throughout the journey, she had felt a clear, undeniable malice from him. A sudden rumble from her stomach breaks her grim recollection. She sighs, complaining that she's hungry and wishes she could have some sweetbread. Despite the hopelessness of her situation, her heart remains strangely calm. She finds strength in her memory of Shu making a promise to her. He had sworn he would protect her, even if the world became his enemy. With a faint blush, she affirms her absolute faith that Shu is coming for her. She closes her eyes, dreaming of a simple, peaceful life with him after they escape. A life where it is just the two of them, happy together forever. The harsh sound of a lock turning shatters her peaceful fantasy. The cell door swings open, revealing the imposing figure of Gremlin. He looks down at her with a cold smile, announcing it's time for her execution. He grabs her arm, roughly yanking her to her feet with a grunt of effort. Gremlin looks down at her with an air of smug authority. Iris flinches away from his touch, a bead of sweat on her temple. She struggles, telling him not to touch her, but her protest is weak. He seizes her chin, silencing her and ordering her not to talk back. He tells her he has waited for this moment, having always known she would betray God. His eyes are wide with fanaticism as he declares that her treacherous blood cannot be denied. Bruised and confused, Iris asks him what he is talking about. He dismisses the guards, offering her a final story as a souvenir for the underworld. He stands beside her in the dark corridor, ready to reveal his secret. He leans in close, a cruel smile on his face, asking if she finds him familiar. She recognizes him now, identifying him as the Inquisitor. He mentions seeing her at her inauguration ceremony. But, he adds with a sinister smirk, he knew of her long before that. Iris looks at him, a dawning unease and confusion on her face. Her eye widens as a long-forgotten memory begins to surface. She remembers him now. He was the man who told her of her parents' deaths. Gremlin mockingly names her parents, Daria and Rose, calling them foolish, damned souls. Iris repeats the official story she was told, that they died fighting a monster. That's a lie, Gremlin says calmly, his smile never wavering. I killed them both. Iris is rendered speechless, her mind struggling to process his horrifying confession. A flashback begins, taking them back 18 years to a fateful subjugation mission. Her parents, Daria and Rose, are shown leading their unit against a powerful demon. A younger gremlin narrates his pride of being assigned to the two legendary knights. The unit successfully cornered the heavily armored disaster-class Dark Knight. But Daria suddenly stopped the attack, ordering his men to protect the demon and a boy. The other knights were stunned, protesting that they were moments away from victory. Daria explained that the wounded demon was merely protecting a small human child. The terrified child clutched a small stuffed toy, hiding behind the demon's leg. Gremlin had argued that the child was tainted by evil and must be eliminated. Daria refused, stating with absolute certainty that they do not kill children. The other knights urged him to reconsider, believing his judgment was far too lenient. Daria was resolute, insisting that the demon must still be judged for its actions. He weighed the conflicting teachings of his god, to love one another versus not forgiving evil. Faced with this paradox, Daria chose to follow what he believed was more important. Rose stood by her husband's side, telling him that she agreed with his decision. Gremlin was aghast that Rose, too, would side with such a compassionate view. Rose gently told Gremlin to calm down, sensing a bond of love between the knight and child. Despite the protests, her parents prepared to protect the demon and the boy. An older knight worried that they could not simply overlook this act of heresy. A hand clenches into a fist, a symbol of hardening resolve. Gremlin's narration reveals his thoughts. He could not allow himself to overlook this. Daria approached the demon, introducing himself and promising they meant no more harm. The small child looked up at the fearsome Dark Knight, seeking comfort and safety. In a dark forest, a woman observed a frightened child with a cold, judgmental gaze. But the noble knight, Daria, Silverbrett promises to take the child to a safe place. The horned demon knight pleads with them, asking them to believe in his desire to help. Daria extends a hand in peace, gently inviting the demon and child to follow him. In a flash of betrayal, a spear brutally erupts from Daria's chest from behind. Their comrade, Gremlin, screams that anyone who betrays God must face death. Daria collapses in a pool of blood as his horrified wife, Rose, looks on. Gremlin's spear then finds its next target, mercilessly piercing Rose through the heart. The other knights are frozen, calling Gremlin a madman, but failing to intervene. Gremlin stands over the bodies, declaring they blasphemed by sheltering a demon. With a blood-spattered, triumphant smile, he explains this is why he killed them. He recalls disposing of the demon, regretting only his failure to also kill the child. To his superiors, he fabricated a story of heroic deaths to cover his crimes. He remembers his body overflowing with the joy of offering unclean souls to God. He knew the couple had a 5-year-old daughter, a fact Daria often bragged about. He rushed to their home, arriving just after the babysitter had left for the night. He was determined to erase the heretical bloodline that defied the will of his god. His goal was to kill the child and send her soul straight to the underworld. The hooded gremlin stalked the small child, a young Iris, inside her home. He grabbed the unsuspecting child, his intentions murderous and absolute. Peeking through the door, he had called out with a sinister, false friendliness. He stood at the threshold, lying that he was a colleague of her parents. He urged her to open the door, claiming he had something important to tell her. When she refused, he blasted the door with magic, calling it a stroke of bad luck. He tells the captive adult Iris that the shock must have erased her memory. Her eye widens in terror as he admits his eternal regret for not killing her then. Overcome with rage and grief, Iris grabs Gremlin's collar, her face a mask of anguish. He taunts her, saying she must hate him now, but it is far too late. Grabbing her by the hair, he informs her that her execution is about to begin. He laughs maniacally as he drags her away, declaring the time has finally come. A disheveled Iris is led out, gagged and bound, whispering a prayer to her god. A single tear falls as she contemplates the impending agony of the purification flames. She is marched across a vast public square toward a lone execution pyre. Gremlin looks up at the clear blue sky, feeling the cheerful urge to sing. As he hums, tears stream down Iris's face in silent, hopeless despair. The tall wooden stake stands ready in the center of the square, awaiting its victim. Bundles of dry wood are piled high at the base of the platform. Two guards roughly restrain Iris, her arms bound tightly behind her back. Tied to the stake, she looks out at the crowd with sorrow and resignation. Gremlin raises his arms, calling for the children of El Magia to be silent. He proclaims the witch consorted with monsters, a heretic who stole their profane power. Stamping on a magic circle, he declares that their magic is a divine gift from God. To learn this power from a demon, he preaches, is the ultimate betrayal of God. Therefore, with a wide, triumphant smile, he declares she will be burned alive. He levitates on a glowing circle, floating ominously toward the helpless Iris. Leaning in close, he whispers that her immortal armor will protect her body. But the executioners will burn her until her magic runs out and she finally dies. The holy fire will inflict unimaginable pain, prolonging her suffering as long as possible. He smiles cruelly, reassuring her not to worry, as everything has an end. He promises her soul will soon be guided to the underworld where her parents await. Guards hold back the eager crowd, telling them not to step forward. Two women in the audience complain, wishing the execution would start already. A nobleman grumbles to his servants about the long-winded inquisitor's speech. A man tells a young boy to watch closely, promising he'll enjoy her screams. The boy asks his mother what the witch did, and she says she angered their god. The child wonders where a person's soul goes when God is angry with them. A man explains that sinners who stray from God fall to the underworld forever. Only true believers, he preaches, will receive God's eternal blessings and peace. The boy is confused, wondering why she would betray God if demons are evil. Iris stands alone on the pyre, awaiting the inevitable, agonizing flames. Tears of sorrow and betrayal stream from her eyes as she faces her cruel fate. She remembers her parents, who became holy knights to protect the very people here. She recalls her younger self, filled with pride for her heroic mother and father. Her ambition to be like them drove her, no matter how much she was scorned. She didn't flee with Shu, wanting to fulfill her duty as a knight until the end. An executioner raises his torch and gives the final, chilling order to light the fire. Magic circles flare to life, ready to ignite the pyre with holy flame. The pyre erupts in a massive inferno, but the scene is suddenly interrupted. In the end, her life of faith and duty did not save her from this fate. She recalls a past trauma, a memory of a human who had wronged her. With bitter clarity, she realizes a human, not a monster, killed her parents. And now, another human, Gremlin, will be the one to kill her. With a final, tearful epiphany, she concludes that to her, evil is human. Her thoughts turn to Shu, the only one who ever showed her kindness and saved her. Ever since their first meeting, he has been her sole salvation in a cruel world. Her tear-filled eyes look up, a desperate glimmer of hope in her despair. A dark, magnificent figure appears behind her, his aura radiating immense power. It is Shu, his expression soft as he says he has come to help her. He calls out her name, his voice a calm anchor in the roaring flames. Iris looks at him, her eyes wide with overwhelming relief and disbelief. She reaches out, declaring that there is no more need for restraints. At his touch, the thick ropes binding her instantly crumble into dust. Her hand reaches out, finding his in the heart of the chaos. He pulls her from the stake, sweeping her into a powerful, protective embrace. He holds her close, his dark, flowing cloak a shield against the hateful world. They are silhouetted together against the raging inferno of the execution pyre. The executioners are stunned, wondering about the monster that flew from the sky. The pyre explodes with uncontrolled magic, throwing the guards back in shock. Gremlin stares in utter disbelief, his perfect, righteous execution utterly ruined. She holds Iris, declaring to the entire city that he will take her back. Gremlin recoils in shock and fury at the demon's brazen appearance. Through her tears, Iris teases him for being late after all his promises. She laughs weakly, admitting it is just like her to miss the important point. She looks down at her, a small, gentle smile gracing his lips. He reassures her that it's okay. He will protect her, no matter how desperate it gets. His eye glows with a fierce, unwavering, and dangerous determination. The crowd murmurs, wondering if this is the powerful monster who taught the witch. Gremlin sneers, recognizing Shu and his desire to rescue the condemned witch. His face contorts with rage as he vows to kill Shu just as he did the demon before. He rallies the knights, screaming for them to strike the demon down immediately. Shu stands with Iris, enveloped within a vast and intricate magic circle. He muses that Ramsa's knights are weaker than Zamus, realizing his own power has grown. A knight rallies his men to kill the monsters, but Shu simply commands them, death. A horrifying wave of screaming, spectral skulls erupts from him, washing over the soldiers. The charging knights look up in sheer terror as the torrent of death descends upon them. His death magic transforms into a beautiful, terrifying spectacle as Iris watches in awe. The crowd recoils, gasping that the knights are being sucked into a world of death itself. A terrified onlooker stammers that the underworld has manifested before their very eyes. A knight recognizes the monster from reports, a deviant being who surpasses even death spirits. His appearance is like a king who governs death itself. They christen him with a new name, Hades. The storm of spectral energy continues its grim harvest, a vision of the underworld unleashed. Shu considers the title Hades, finding it fitting. He is now the king of the underworld. Iris, now safe, turns to him, saying she has a favor she must ask. She points a trembling finger at the cowering inquisitor, Gremlin. With rage in her eyes, she begs Shu to take care of the man who murdered her parents. Shu quietly agrees, but asks if she is truly okay with this decision. Iris's gaze is firm and resolute. She closes her eyes with a sad, final smile, saying that this is enough. Gremlin, facing the king of the underworld, tells him not to mess with him. He screams that these insolent fools will face the divine judgment of El Magia. Shu raises a hand, his gaze cold, commanding the Inquisitor to burn and disappear. A torrent of water erupts from the ground, engulfing the screaming gremlin. The Inquisitor cries out in terror as the elemental torture begins. In an instant, the water around him freezes into a solid block of ice. The ice then violently shatters, tearing his body apart with the force. He screams in unending agony as the brutal cycle of torture repeats itself. His body withers, broken and scalded by the relentless assault. His charred hand reaches for the heavens in one last, unanswered plea to his god. The Inquisitor's body falls, dissolving into dust before it even hits the ground. Iris watches in silence, her expression unreadable, her lifelong vengeance finally complete. The last visage of Gremlin's face, a silent scream, fades into nothingness. She turns to the city, declaring that El Magia's faith has taken everything dear to him. He will not forgive their god. He issues his ultimatum. At dawn, he will wipe out the country. Those who remain will be considered dead. His eyes burn with cold fury as he vows to cast their entire world into the underworld. The new chapter begins under a grim omen, a skull entwined with flowers. You cannot escape death. The king of the underworld's threat sends the populace into a panicked, desperate exodus. A small girl cries out for her father, asking why he isn't coming with them. The knight kneels, explaining it is his duty as one of El Magia's people to protect everyone. He hugs her one last time, promising he will be right behind her before telling her to go. The girl is led away by her mother, taking one last look at her father. The knight stands resolute, believing passing on feelings is how one transcends death. An advisor reports to the king that the evacuation of the people is proceeding smoothly. In the throne room, he is told the evacuation should be complete by sunrise. The queen and prince have already escaped to a neighboring country, the king acknowledges. Another aide reports that the business association has already fled. Their offices are empty. The king frets, realizing they have no hope for material aid in the coming battle. He laments that the execution of a single which has summoned the king of the underworld. He despairs that even if his people escape, they will have no country to return to. But one of his knights speaks up, declaring that they still have strength. He insists that Ramsa's renowned holy knights and mages can still fight. The other knights agree, their combined strength enough to face any monster. The knight vows to his king that Ramsa will not perish as long as they are there. The king's hope is rekindled by their loyalty, and he entrusts the country's future to them. The wicked star, the demon king's omen, shines brightly in the night sky. Far away in a dark forest, a campfire crackles, a lone point of light. Shu and Iris sit by the fire, surrounded by the quiet, floating spirits of the woods. Iris worries about making a fire, but Shu assures her they are hidden by a concealment spell. She turns to him, her expression soft, and thanks him for helping her. She smiles sadly, reflecting that in the end, it was always Shu who rushed to her side, not God. She wonders aloud why she ever believed in the cold-hearted El Magia. Shu listens to her crisis of faith, his own expression grim and determined. His voice is heavy with conviction as he vows to destroy the country that hurt her. He acknowledges that this means far more humans will die than ever before. He asks Iris if she hates the idea of people from her country dying. Iris looks up at him, her eyes wide with conflict and the weight of his question. She hesitates, struggling to find the words to express her turmoil. She questions the very nature of morality if one must always love others. But the memory of the crowd's hateful, gleeful faces is burned into her mind forever. She cries out in anguish, asking if she must plead for the lives of people like that. She feels her feelings disqualify her as both a human and a holy knight. But looking at the wicked star, she accepts her new reality. She is already a witch. She watches her, a faint smile on his lips as she finds her own resolve. She declares she can kill without hesitation. He tells her he is relieved. Iris looks at him, a determined, peaceful smile gracing her lips. Her gaze is steady, her inner conflict resolved. She scoots closer to him by the warmth of the fire. She leans against his shoulder, finding solace and strength in his presence. He looks down at her, a silent, shared understanding between them. She lets out a small laugh. He asks her what's so funny. She says it's nothing, looking up at the star that has guided their strange fate. The sun rises over the distant mountains, heralding Ramsa's final dawn. The grand, walled city of Ramsa stands ready for its final battle. A knight on the battlements notes that the sun is rising. It is dawn. Another knight raises a spyglass to his eye, scanning the horizon. The king sits on his throne, calling out a challenge to the distant Hades. He taunts the demon, boasting of the skilled magicians and knights awaiting him. He proclaims that no monster could defeat his country's elite soldiers. He scoffs, asking how Shu plans to fight with a near-dead witch by his side. From afar, Iris asks how he will destroy the country. He vows to blow it all up. She is shocked, realizing he intends to use forbidden magic like great meteorite. Shu holds a small pebble, repeating his intent to destroy the entire place. He doesn't know if it's forbidden magic, but his calculations confirm it will work. He casually tosses the small stone into the air before him. An impossibly complex, three-dimensional magic circle materializes around the pebble. Iris watches in awe. The difficult magic has finally taken shape. She finds the amazing display to be both beautiful and intensely curious. Shu explains that any small object, even a pebble, is sufficient for the spell. He is building a 3D magic circle with immense power and complex formulas. Countless glowing magic circles fill the sky, all focused on the central sphere. He recites the principles: substance conversion, reaction acceleration, and thermal energy conversion. Shu began to combine and organize the complex magic around a simple rock. Dark, thorny energy erupted, transforming the stone into a perfect black sphere. Iris gasped as Shu explained he had just created antimatter from the rock. He noted that from a distance, it was just a sphere he would send. Shu grimly confirmed he never intended to attack the kingdom head-on. The great kingdom of Ramsa stood, utterly unaware of its imminent doom. On the high walls, the last of the kingdom's knights kept their vigil. They were confident, some even laughing, completely oblivious to the danger. Suddenly, one of the knights pointed to the sky, asking what that was. They wondered if it was teleportation magic as the sphere appeared from nothing. The small black that began its silent descent towards the city walls. It fell towards the stone parapet, a tiny messenger of absolute oblivion. The sphere landed with a soft, almost delicate clink on the stone. A silent, colossal dome of pure blackness erupted from the point of impact. The wave of absolute annihilation consumed everything and everyone in its path. The city and its people were simply erased from existence without a sound. The unstoppable void wiped the very land clean, leaving nothing behind. A child on a distant hill asked her mother about the big black thing. Her father's eyes widened in terror as he watched the doom approach. The family was swallowed by the wave. Their world turned to nothing. Its purpose served, the antimatter sphere finally began to dissolve. It fell into a newly formed lake with a single, quiet plop. The final ripples were the only evidence it had ever existed. Where the kingdom of Ramsa once stood, only a vast crater remained. Iris watched in awe as Shu began to change once more. Her eyes reflected the overwhelming and terrifying power being unleashed. A tidal wave of high-density magical power rushed towards them from the crater. Shu welcomed the torrent of souls, shouting for it to come to him. The raw life force of an entire nation slammed into his being. He was engulfed in a blinding vortex of overwhelming magical energy. He reached out, absorbing the power and beginning his final, great evolution. His body was racked by the sheer force of the terrifying transformation. A profound shift occurred deep within his very soul as he ascended. An ancient voice roared in his mind, shouting out his new, evolved name. His form began to change, his hair flowing into a crown of thorns. He emerged reborn, a being of unimaginable power and terrible majesty. He was now a primordial demon spirit, an alpha spirit of immense power. Iris noted his longer hair and his extraordinary increase in magical power. He remembered his sister Ayam vowing that she would never cut her hair. The memory was a ghost of a life he could never hope to reclaim. He declared that his former self, Takamitsu Osamu, was now truly dead. He would live as Shu Archlight to avoid ever being killed again. And he would live in this new world, he decided, right alongside Iris. The news of Ramsa's overnight destruction spread rapidly across the continent. Some of the people who heard the terrible tale were utterly terrified. Others were simply confused by the impossible and devastating news. And in the shadows, some found a new and terrible hope in the legend. But no one knew the fate of the two at the Maelstrom Center. 1 month later, Iris ran through the forest, panting for breath. She was being relentlessly pursued by a hulking, monstrous werewolf. But the girl who was once helpless was now a capable warrior. The beast lunged, its massive claws ready to strike her down. She complained with mild annoyance that the creature was so persistent. She unleashed a powerful blast of wind magic, impact wind's grace. As the beast fell, she declared with conviction that she was not weak anymore. She stood confidently over its corpse, her days of being a victim long past. She welcomed her back to their camp, surrounded by fallen travelers. She noted the visitors, and he explained they had wandered in by accident. Unfazed, she suggested they loot the bodies for useful items or food. She mused that bread would be good, and that meat would be good too. After some thought, she suggested that they should go into a town. She realized that while he needed nothing, Iris was still human. She insisted she was fine, telling him not to underestimate her immortal body. But her stomach rumbled loudly, betraying her simple human desires. She burst into comical tears, admitting she wanted to eat fluffy bread. She decided they would go northwest to the Republic of Elise for shelter. Iris showed him the wanted posters she found in the traveler's luggage. She considered using magical concealment to work as a shady bodyguard. Iris gently called out his name, getting his full attention. She asked him to promise they would always be together, no matter what. She smiled gently and agreed, promising her they would be together always. One cannot resist death, but what of the girl who cannot die? She joked about what he would say if soldiers ever surrounded them. A new legend was born. The king of the underworld is coming through.